the grid, it's 26 Lee Rickard and 61 James Delisle. The 9th row is number 12, which is Richard Jones, and 92 Adam Parker. And completing the grid, 7 and 94. 7 is Andrew Idwin, and 94 is Ursula Jordan. So that's the way of things ahead of this 15-minute race. 20 cars we should have on the grid then. Situation in the championship coming into this weekend. There's been 2 meetings at Brands Hatch and at Castlecombe. Double headers there. This is the first of 2 triple headers in a row at Anglesey and at Snetterton. But Matt Wilkins it is that leads the championship by 23 points at this stage, from Joe Jessup in second and Trafford King in third. He's another 8 points behind Jessup. And in terms of how the wins have broken down this season, it's been 2 wins each for Jessup and Wilkins. Jessup winning the first race at Brands Hatch and the second race at Combe. Wilkins the 2 races in between. The grid for the second race of the weekend, the first race tomorrow, will have the top 10 reversed, and the grid for the third race of the weekend with a finishing order for race 2. So here it's less about finishing right at the front for a good position on the grid for race 2, but different story for race 2 and then the grid for race 3. But everyone will be wanting to pick up as many points as they can in the championship, and the Type R trophy cars, we're saying this morning, Andy, look absolutely splendid.
They do, don't they? Especially in the sunshine that we're now being treated to this afternoon here at Anglesey. But a really well turned out grid this, and a fantastic car, the Honda Civic Type R, particularly this EP3 generation, which I really am a fan of. We know that they produce good racing, and these cars immaculately prepared. You can tell that the teams who prepare the cars put an awful lot of pride in their work. Hopefully they all still look as immaculate in 20 minutes time as 15 minutes time as they do now. But either way, I'm sure we're in for a good race.
Should be. Green flag is waved at the back then. So 2 cars with very similar liveries on the front row of the grid. 86 Matt Wilkinson, 15 Don de Graaf. The lights go out now. Away they go. Pretty even start between the 2 of them, and it looks like it's going to be Wilkins who just about has the squeeze into target for the first time. In fact, it was a relatively decent gap that he had into the first left-hander at the beginning of this race. Now off up to the banking they go, and it's certainly Don de Graaf, ex-Clio racer, in second place. There's one going rather wide at the banking, exiting stage left. He'll reappear in a moment, I'm sure. But it is then from pole position. Matt Wilkins leading the way, Don de Graaf in second. I think it's Trafford King in third place as well at the moment, as they head past the school building up towards the left-hander at Rocket for the first time. The car that was off, Andy?
Hold the line caller. I think 13, Tom McFarlane, by the looks of it, who nearly went off at Church as well. He's had a bit of a lively opening half a lap of racing on dirty tyres now, of course, and there's a bit of elbow banging going on up at the top of the hill as everyone scrabbles for position. The 374 of Kai Lindsay, who's already lost quite a few places on this opening lap, losing some more there by being on the receiving end of some rough treatment going into Rocket. Then they round the tricky right-hander at Peel, drop down towards the corkscrew for the first time, where it is grid order at the front of the field there. Matt Wilkins ahead of Don de Graaf, ahead of Trafford King, the top 3. And as they come across the line, it is then 4th position for Jessup, 5th position for Joseph McMullen. So McMullen, the first one to have gained a position from where he started, up from 6th to 5th.
Yeah, and this is side by side. It's Joe Dalgano going a bit slowly, actually. He's got a bit of a problem. Ross Borman it was that went around the outside of him, but Dalgano's going to pull off the circuit there and park up against the barriers by the looks of it. So that's a great shame for the former MG Trophy driver as well. He's off the circuit at the banking, looks to be out of the race. So he exits. The race continues though. It's still Matt Wilkins leading from Don de Graaf in second. We're watching midfield runners go through Church corner at the moment. Tom McFarlane trying to get back onto the coattails of the rest of the field. It's Ursula Jordan, I think, who's ahead of him as things stand, as they climb back up the hill. Battle going on here. That's the number 7 car of Andrew Idwin, so he's made up places because he was right towards the back of the field. He's trying to get past Kai Lindsay in the 374 car, unable to do anything about him at the moment. That's the battle for 16th and 17th places. It looks like Lindsay actually on this lap has got ahead of Idwin and holding on to that place for the moment. But the leaders going back through the corkscrew. Still the same leader, Matt Wilkins, ahead of Don de Graaf, 86 ahead of 15. but they're all streaming their way through the corkscrew there.
Yep, across the line we go then. 2 laps in the books, 0.6 of a second the lead for Matt Wilkins over Don de Graaf in the front of the field, so not a huge variation in lap time between the two of them. With King, Jessup and McMullen next, through the banking they head. And around towards the quick right-hander at Church. Someone's been off, have they? I think they bounced back onto the road, whoever they were. But that's been a bit of a trouble spot target corner. It's a tricky corner, full commitment required through what is a deceptively quick left-hander. Church corner, the fastest part, or corner anyway, on the circuit that leads to the fastest part of the track up the School Straight. And right at the back of the group there, McFarlane now, Tom McFarlane having caught back up to the tail of the field after his grassy excursion on lap 1. Round the outside, attacks into the Rocket Complex. Delilah, there's a big collision further back, numbers 12 and 18 that is, and that is almost certainly going to be a safety car. Richard Jones came in like a rocket, and Matthew Duffel, unfortunately, in the way with nowhere to go. Duffel dragging his car out of the way, but I don't think we're going to see the other car get out of the way under its own steam, and that may well require a safety car.
Yeah, it's just on the edge of the runoff area up there at Rocket Window. He's now moving. He's getting away up. I think he's going to park up by the barrier as well. So if they both do that, we should, I would think, be okay to continue, although the safety car has, of course, just gone out. So it looks like we're going to get the safety car at least briefly. The safety car itself hasn't gone out. The flags and boards have gone out. So we might have one of these strange safety car pairs where we'll never actually see the safety car, potentially, Andy.
Potentially. That would be ideal, really, because as you've said, there's no real need for the safety car to be out there now, but they may want to bunch everyone together. And
yeah, safety car is going out.
Yes, it is. It makes it easier on the restart, if nothing else, doesn't it, to know when the race is restarting. The drivers, of course, have no other way of knowing that the race is about to restart other than seeing the lights extinguished on top of the safety car. So this will be probably a 2-lap thing. They'll have this first lap to catch up to the safety car, the second lap behind the safety car, and then we should go racing again. But I'm amazed both of those cars got moving under their own steam. That was quite a hit.
There was certainly a corner off on Matthew Duffel's car, wasn't there? And I'm not sure that the other car involved, that of Richard Jones, was in any better shape, really. There they both are, well off the circuit. Steve Jones, the photographer there, no doubt captured what was going on up at the top of the circuit. The drivers would be well advised to get up onto the tyre wall with Steve there, I think, rather than have a little chat in the runoff area. But yeah, if they get up onto the tyre wall, that would be the best for everybody's safety. So there's the 18 car. Duff, well, it's a bit of a Duff car now, isn't it? Having been attacked, been savaged by the Richard Jones car that came through. So that's a great shame for the man from Griffydam in Leicestershire, 36-year-old Matt Duffel, IT consultant in his 3rd season of racing, an ex-Autograss driver and racer. It's a self-prepared car, but he's got his work cut out to prepare it for racing tomorrow. They're back out tomorrow morning at 5 to 10. It's 5 past 4 in the afternoon now. It could be some midnight oil being burnt there to get Matthew Duffel back out onto the circuit. So the safety car has now come out. It's picked up the field, and if we're right, and there's no efforts being made to recover those cars, it's going to be just one more lap behind the safety car. Then we'll get back out into the race. So the safety car's just slowed down to get them all bunched up behind. Let's have a short break before the resumption. Well, it might be a bit of a longer safety car period than we thought, because they have seemingly sent a recovery truck and one of the Anglesey circuit vans up to try and deal with the situation. But those cars, well, they are a long way off, but of course they're not completely out of harm's way, so officials clearly deciding that they want to get them a little bit further out of harm's way than they already are. I'm not quite sure if the Irish Sea is the solution to the problem, but it is looking rather inviting in the background. Anyway, we've got these cars heading around behind the safety car. We've got 7.5 minutes left to go scheduled in this race. and it may be that don't get too many more racing laps. There's the view from on board with Ursula Jordan, number 94. She's running in 16th place at the moment. It's Lee Rickard's car ahead, number 26. And Ursula in number 94. She's 30 years of age, from Warwickshire, head of communications by occupation. And she started racing in 2020, but this is a new car for her in 2024. Ah, right. We also managed to curse Richard Jones by putting the onboard camera on his car. And that's one of the two cars that's stricken up at the top of the hill. Richard, the 31-year-old from Middlesbrough, fabricator by occupation, prepares the car with his father. He's in his 3rd season of racing. So the car's heading around the banking once again on this Anglesey Coastal circuit, just over 1.5 miles in length. It's been in use for quite some years now. Still think of it as the new Anglesey circuit. Of course, at the original Anglesey, red flag now, coming out. The original Anglesey circuit, though, was oriented in a completely different way, and it was a sort of 1 mile circuit using roads from the old army camp that was here. It was originally a rallycross venue, and then circuit racing was added as well in the 1990s. And are you old enough to have covered meetings on the old circuit, Andy?
Afraid not.
No, you're not, are you? No, you won't remember the old commentary box, which was really a porter cabin. You shared it with the timekeepers. And I don't think I have a commentator full meeting from there on my own, but I did occasionally make guest visits into the commentary box when the likes of Richard Sproston or Andy Fraser were commentating. When there's a Formula Ford race on, usually I was invited to join them for that, which was always fun. But no, very different circuit now, a really high quality circuit, which is really sort of capable of hosting more prestigious events than it does, but it is rather on the edge of the country, a long way from anywhere, and that's one of the factors that counts against it. But it's a wonderful setting, though, isn't it? This Anglesey circuit, Andy.
No, well worth the journey, I think. I know it is easy for me to say, living only an hour and a half away, but I really do think it's well worth the journey over here. It's just a lovely place to spend a weekend.
Yeah.
I've noticed a few drivers that you've referred to already today who have said that this is their favourite place to come. They don't just talk about the circuit being a challenge and an enjoyable place to drive, but the ambience, just the environment here at Anglesey is just unlike really any other kind of circuit. Yes, it's a bit grim when it's wet and it's cold and it's windy, but on an afternoon like this, genuinely, there is no prettier racetrack in the country, and it's just a nice place to come and spend the weekend. So I, for one, think more drivers should give it a go, really. Those who do decide to skip Anglesey on the calendar, they're definitely missing out.
No, they really are. It's a great circuit to race at, a great circuit to experience as well. I remember the first meeting here on this layout. I don't think at that point they'd managed to quite finish it. There was no curbs as such at that point. I think it was really a question of you can't use the runoff area because you'll just sort of drop off the side of the circuit, basically. That was quite some years ago that this particular layout was inaugurated, but it is spectacular. And obviously a little bit after that came the race control building that we're commentating from today. That was added a year or two after this circuit was completed as well. But it is a great venue, quite popular for testing as well, and of course various TV shows have filmed here over the years as well. And obviously hosts the annual Race of Remembrance as well, which has now got a sort of quite an important part, an important date in the British Club Motorsport calendar over Remembrance Weekend. There's the Matthew Duffel car that's been put on the back of the flatbed. The Richard Jones car was towed away, so those cars will be cleared soon. They've got the cars regridded into what I think is probably the right order, and I would think then we'll get going again. And it's going to be a 5-minute restart, looking at the timing screen very shortly, just as soon as these cars are cleared away. There you can see Matthew Duffel's car. Yeah, it did take that left rear corner, the collision from Richard Jones did remove that completely, and some work to be done to rebuild that left rear corner of the car later on. But yeah, we're not too far away from a restart here. I imagine we're going to get another green flag lap as well, because we do have green flag laps in the Tagiwa Type R Trophy. These cars, the EP3 Civics, of course, and it's a standard Honda K20 engine with no tuning. There's modifications very limited to just the induction exhaust and a sump baffle. All the cars are power tested on a rolling road, and engines are sealed for an undue development during the season. They use affordable but high quality yellow speed racing coilovers, a bolt-in roll cage. As far as the brakes are concerned, the ABS is removed. There's a bias lever put in. They upgrade the brake pads, standard gearbox with an M-Factory helical limited slip diff, and they use MRF control tyres as well, which are very affordable. So really the emphasis, as with so much that the 750 Motor Club does, is placed on low cost, control cost, affordable racing, and a level playing field as well, which is why the 750 Motor Club continues to have great success in its market against perhaps other championships where there's less control on the costs and regulations and checkbooks. Well, it's not checkbooks these days. Bank accounts certainly that win. That can win championships. I'd be very surprised if a checkbook had won a championship in the past 20 years. But there we go. It's a phrase, isn't it? Off they go on their green flag lap, Andy. So that's good news. It didn't take too long to get that sorted. And it was the right thing to do, really, to red flag it, because otherwise we wouldn't have had any more racing from the Type R Trophy.
Yes, as it is, we will have 5 minutes on the restarted race. So, yeah, that's good news. It's a shortened race, but, yeah, we probably would have ended up with maybe a minute or so less than that if we'd have continued to trundle behind the safety cars. So, yes, the cars will grid back up again. 5 minutes, a short, sharp dash. The start particularly important here, then, because it does look, doesn't it, as though that leading group of drivers are all really evenly matched, and when that is the case, if you can get the whole shot, get into turn one ahead, it can be very difficult for those behind to then find a way past you, unless of course you make a mistake. So yeah, the first couple of corners could be pretty intense here. I think Matt Wilkins will want to try and redo what he did the first time around, getting quite clearly the best of the launches off the line, but Don de Graaf perhaps has learned something from that, maybe. We do sometimes see here at Anglesey, actually, that the outside line, particularly on a 2x2 standing start, is the better place to be. It's the grippier side of the road, because that's the racing line, but also you can carry more momentum around the outside into turn one, so perhaps he can use that to his advantage. Yeah, no, it's definitely not a big advantage to be on pole position here at Anglesey, especially with such a short run to the first corner as well. It's not even 100 yards, is it, I don't think, up to the first corner. So, yeah, relatively small advantage to being on pole position here. So it is, though, going to be pole position once again for number 86, Matt Wilkins. He was there originally, and again, on the outside of the front road, he's going to be number 15, Don de Graaf, very experienced racer in Don de Graaf, as I say, been a winner in Clios in the past, racing in Formula Renault as well in his youth. Second row of the grid, again, it's Trafford King in 42, and Joe Jessup in 28, and third row is Joe McMullen and Ross Borman. Borman actually the biggest beneficiary, because he started the original race in 10th place. Joe Delgado, a retirement, and he got past another couple of cars as well on that original start. Green flag waved at the back. 5-second board ahead of a 5-minute race. Red lights go on. Out they go, and the race gets underway. Again, an even start by the two at the front, but I think it's going to be the 86 car of Wilkins that's ahead into the first corner. Don de Graaf slots into second place. Joe Jessup in third, gets ahead of Trafford King, though. He drops back down to fourth position as they turn through the banking for the first time. They're all making their way through. Again, there's Tom McFarlane off on the grass again, not quite as far as on the original start, but again he's got the banking all wrong, or the exit of it anyway. Hopefully we'll get that sorted out sometime tomorrow. Anyway, there's the 11th car. That's the car of Joseph McMullen, the driver from Bromsgrove in Worcestershire.
he is just tucked in behind Trafford King, so they are battling for 4th place.
Oh, and a launch up the inside. That is Jessup, isn't it? Already up 1 from where he restarted, and now up into 2nd place as he tries to lever aside Don de Graaf, who stands his ground. There's a bit of a tap in the tail as they turn into the 2nd part of Rocket. Don de Graaf stays alongside. That's the inside line now for Peel Corner, but a pretty physical altercation there between the two of them. Can Don de Graaf now make that position his? Yes, he can, and fends up a fired up Joe Jessup. That was a really, nearly a very good outbraking manoeuvre by Jessup, but just couldn't quite get the job done.
Down through the corkscrew then for the first time in this short race. Probably going to be 4 laps, I would think, that we get out of this. Over the line goes Matt Wilkins, and it's a lap gap of 1.2 seconds already because de Graaf and Jessup were falling over each other a little bit, so that's kind of, in such a short race, absolute manner for Matt Wilkins, because he's got a gap that might just about be enough to see him through to the end of the race. De Graaf 2nd, Jessup 3rd, King 4th, McMullen 5th, and Ross Bourman in 6th, so he's not made up any more places from his position at the restart.
No, he hasn't. Through Church Corner goes a man who has, though. Joe Jessup, almost into 2nd place. Oh, now that's a problem, is it, for Trafford King? I think it is. Trafford King's car slowing now. Coming out of Church Corner, that's not a good place to be going slowly. He sensibly gets the car off the road as quickly as he can and will pull up against the tyre wall. Now that should be far enough off the road that we don't need a safety car interruption, but that is a real shame for Trafford King then, whose car just suddenly seemed to lose drive mid-corner.
Yeah, Trafford King, the 750 Motor Club Sim Racing champion as well.
Yeah.
Is out of this particular race. So we're watching 95, which is Ben Seabold. He's got 61, James Delisle just behind him. This is the battle for 8th and 9th. Ahead of them is number 19, Ollie Musgrave, who's 4th in the championship coming into this weekend, to be a little bit disappointed, I would think, with his position so far in this race. P7 he's running at the moment. Lap 2 being completed, 2 minutes 18 to go. So yeah, with 2 more laps that they get out of this. 8 tenths now the lead for Wilkins over de Graaf, so that has come down with de Graaf doing the best lap of the race, a 120.128. Lap record for these cars is a 118.51 set by Adam Shepherd 3 years ago.
Yes, very handy driver, isn't he, Adam Shepherd, in all things front-wheel drive. Still managed to beat him in a sim racing championship once on iRacing, but I never mentioned that, you'll be happy to hear.
I've never brought it up now.
Anyway, yes, we're nowhere near that pace at the moment, are we? It has warmed up significantly, though, I must say, over the last 20 minutes or so. There's another car I noticed stopped on the exit of the banking. Who else have we lost?
That's Ross Bourman.
Oh, it is Ross Bourman. Right, okay, that must have been a lap ago that he pulled...
Oh, is it? Is it? Maybe it's not Ross Bourman. I beg your pardon.
Whoever it is, they're only now getting out of the car, so I think it's this lap that they've stopped. Anyway, we'll get there in the end. It could be Bourman. Meanwhile, move up the inside for Adam Parker there, I think actually defending a position as they went into the Rocket Complex. Accelerate up towards Peel Corner. The leaders, though, down at the corkscrew. They're about to begin their final lap of racing. And are we going to find that we are minus the erstwhile 5th place man, Ian?
Yes, I think it was right first time. Anyway, so we're on board here with Adam Parker, this is, isn't it? In the 92 car. Dropping down to fuel cap open there. Yeah, get your black and orange flag in the BTCC these days. Last lap board has not yet gone out. A driving standards flag has gone out to somebody, though. That was to number 74, which is Richard Lindsay, who's got that. New fastest lap of the race. To the race lead now, Matt Wilkins, a 120.037.
Yep, so down through Church Corner come the leading 3, but really, since the restart, Matt Wilkins has very much stamped his authority on this race. The gap came down slightly a couple of laps ago, but then Wilkins set that fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 20.0, and he's pushing on here on the final lap to try and get down into the 1 minute 19s. They were in the 19s in qualifying, low 19s actually, a 19.3 was the pole position time for Matt Wilkins, and is he going to be able to get down to that at the end of the race, I wonder. Further back, though, still some battles to be sorted out. This is a fight going on for 5th position, isn't it? Musgrave, Seabold and Delisle all together. Delisle qualified right towards the back of the field, so a good drive this from Jason. There's been more drama, and that is McFarlane again, isn't it? Now he's missing a chunk of his car, and that is why, because he's tangled with the number 77 of Luke Emmons, again, Ian, up at Rocket.
Meanwhile, the leaders coming through the corkscrew for the final time. The checkered flag is made ready, and it's going to be Matt Wilkins that wins for a 3rd time this season in the Tagiwa Type R Trophy. 2nd to Don de Graaf, 3rd to Joe Jessup. 4th place goes the way of Joe McMullen. 5th place to number 19, Ollie Musgrave, and 6th to number 95, Ben Seabold. cars still coming through, but that was a very attritional and damaging opening race of the weekend, and first of 3 races this weekend for the Takiwa Type R Trophy.
Now, was it you, Ian, or I who tempted fate at the start of that by saying, I hope the cars are all as pristine
I think that was
at the
definitely
end of it?
you.
I fear you might be right. But anyway, the good news is the drivers appear to be okay. That's such a shame for Tom McFarlane, who certainly has a story to tell after that race. That was not his first moment, but that one, unfortunately, the most costly. Big hit there across the front of the car, clearly.
And ironically, if he'd not had that moment, then that wouldn't have happened because it'd have been further up the road. He might have been in somebody else's accident, but yeah, a great shame for Tom, and quite a few drivers, therefore, with work to do overnight. Joe Dalgarno, Matt Duffel, Richard Jones, Trafford King, Ross Borman, Lee Emmons, Tom McFarlane. So at least 7 drivers there with cars that either had mechanical issues or have bodywork and mechanical damage. Anyway, results time at the end of that 5-minute race for the Takiwa Type R Trophy. It is Matt Wilkins, number 86, that took the victory at the end of 4 laps of racing. And he did so in 5 minutes, 25.060 seconds, and he was 0.948 seconds ahead of number 15, Don de Graaf, in second place. Third place went the way of number 28, Joe Jessup. Fourth to number 11, Joseph McMullen. Fifth to number 19, Ollie Musgrave. Sixth to number 95, Ben Seabold. Then it was 61, James Delisle. 74, Richard Lindsay. 374, Kai Lindsay. And 92, Adam Parker. So good result for him. I think a new engine for Adam Parker this weekend. And Ursula Jordan, Lee Rickard and Andrew Edwin completing the 13 finishes, with a little bit of damage to be dealt with before tomorrow's race at 5 to 10 in the morning. There's another one 25 to 4 in the afternoon tomorrow as well. There you can see some of the non-finishers from that race. So we're halfway through the day's racing here at Anglesey. Still 6 races to go. There's Minis coming up next with the Mini 7s. There's Mazda 7s coming up after that from the Aimshot Mazda 7 Championship. Then we've got Bike Sports, the Armed Forces Race Challenge, the K-Tech Racing Clio Sport Championship, and the 116 Sprint Trophy and 120 Coupe Cup to round out the day's racing. We've got cars heading into Parc Fermé. We've got quite a few cars to recover as well at the end of that race. So let's hope we can hear from a few drivers with Kieran Mogg at the end of that Takiwa Type R Trophy race.
Fantastic race once again from the Civics, and we are with our winner, Matt Wilkins. Fantastic, and what a race.
Yeah, it was a bit tricky with the stoppage, sort of do it all again, but it was good. And Don, teammate in second. Thank you. Teammate in second, which is great. So yeah, that's good. It's what we needed.
Yeah, definitely. Talk us through what what's like in your mind when you're going through that restart. You know you've got those fast guys behind you. What's going through your mind at that point?
So you've got to do it again. Yeah, just to get a good start again and try and maintain it. And yeah, it went well.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on the win.
Very much. Cheers.
Yes, thank you. We're going to talk to... oh, there's a big board there. Didn't mean to walk into it. Don de Graaf. Don, you were just under a second off the win, but it was a good race overall. How was it?
Yeah, no, I think it's a big step forward in the dry. It's obviously awesome because Matt's my teammate. He's leading the championship, so it's like perfect result for the team. But I'm just happy to have, kept up with him a bit, to be honest, because so far this year he's just been dropping me by miles. So yeah, it was nice to keep up with him, and I'll keep trying to chip away for the rest of the year.
Definitely. Do you reckon you can probably take it to him for the next race?
It feels to me like he does. Like there's some parts of the track where he really does just pull away a bit, and then the only place I can really catch him back up is down this corkscrew. So I think I need to look at the other parts of the track. But yeah, he's seriously on it, so he's a hard guy to beat.
No, absolutely. Well, congratulations on the second place anyway.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, thank you. And we talk to our third place, Joe Jessup. Joe, if we can just jump in here a second. Third place, very, very close between the three of you. How was it out there?
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, it's a tricky circuit. Can't quite get the setup right on the car, so maybe just a few tenths off these boys. But yeah, another good race. Yeah. And
is Anglesey a circuit that you enjoy?
It is, yeah. I mean, it's very technical at the top. It's pretty fast down the back. So yeah, it's a long way to get. Yeah.
Definitely. Obviously, the clouds that were here this morning have disappeared. The sun is shining. How hot is it in there?
It's actually not too bad, because I think the temperature, if the sun's not on you, the temperature's not too bad. But yeah, I thought it was going to be wet all day, so we were sort of planning a wet setup for the day today. But we'll see what happens tomorrow. Hopefully it's dry again and we can keep tweaking the car.
Absolutely. We'll look forward to seeing that.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers. Thank you very much. Anyway, we've got the minis coming up next. Don't go anywhere.
So we're still waiting for the Ross Borman Type R trophy car to be recovered. I suspect it needs the intervention of another vehicle, which is not yet on the scene for that car to be recovered. So we do have a bit of a delay before the cars come out onto the grid for the next race of the day, which is the Mini 7s, including the Mini 7 S-Class as well. But just as soon as we are able to bring you more live racing, we will do. Josh Barrett's not here, but he has been busy working out the point for bike sports. So we can tell you that after the bike sports first race of the day, Leon Morel it is that is on 74 points, Philip Brown 62, Andrew Fido 48, Stephen Larkin 45 and Daniel Headlam 43 as the recovery truck is now heading out onto the scene to collect Ross Borman's car. Clearly it's not something that could be taken away by the van. So we've got the bike sports points in the bag ahead of their second race, which is the next race after, no, 2 races after the Mini 7. So we've got that information. But
that is some dedication from Mr. Barrett, isn't it? He was perfectly entitled under the circumstances to a weekend off, but no, couldn't resist, and we're very grateful for it because he does brilliant work normally at keeping everyone on top of the point situation and whatnot, and even from home helping us out. So thanks, Josh.
More views of the fantastic Anglesey scenery. The lighthouse there, I think that is, on top of the cliff, which is miles and miles down the coast. I think just near Newborough. I think that is. I should know the name of that. I think walked there before. Yeah, beautiful part of the coast. So the recovery truck now is with Ross Borman. That car being recovered, and very shortly we'll have the Mini 7s out onto the circuit. It's fitting that we've got the Mini 7s with us today, actually, because back in the 60s that the Mini 7 Racing Club was inaugurated, and it was sort of done in conjunction with the 750 Motor Club back in the day. But it's the first time we've had the Mini 7s on a 750 Motor Club race meeting for quite some time. So we're very happy to have them back with us here this weekend at Anglesey. So we saw the Mini Melias earlier on. We've got the Mini 7s out today. There you can see that the ramp is just being lowered down to allow Ross Borman's car to be brought forward onto it. We're now doing a survey of Anglesey agricultural work.
Further proof that camera operators really will film anything. If it moves, they'll point a camera at it.
And even if it doesn't. We've got John Elsey on the left, Steve Jones. I mean, look at those legs on Steve Jones. Thank goodness the camera operator sort of panned back upwards, because that was indecent. Really not what we want to see. But Steve Jones, long-standing photographer for Autosport and Motorsport News. John Elsey, who's the official photographer of the 750 Motor Club. Check out his work on the 750 Motor Club website. You can see a link to all of his pictures from that. Always captures some great shots. There you can see just how blustery it is up at the top of the circuit. And obviously you do a lot of commentary. Have you ever stood on that bank to watch racing up at the top of the hill?
I've watched some testing from up at the top of the hill. I managed 20 minutes and then realised it was the windiest point on the circuit and quickly ran for cover. But I think probably worth persevering through the wind, because it is probably the best view of the circuit, isn't it? You can see most of the track, really. From there, you can even see across the paddock to the banking and the Church Corner.
The bit that you miss is the start line, basically, which is the one unfortunate bit there. There we are. Hello. We'll wave from the comms box. Anything that moves, as you say. Ross Borman's car has now progressed up the ramp.
I'm hoping this is going to move very shortly.
I'm hoping so too. After that, we can get the Mini 7s out onto the circuit. But yeah, that is a very blustery part of the circuit to watch from. Time to pay thanks to our marshals here at Anglesey this weekend. We do let them have a break occasionally. And take in some of the sunshine. Yes, an opportune moment for a bit of a break on a busy 12 race programme. Many thanks to all of the marshals who do such sterling work here at Anglesey and circuits up and down the country. Very much indebted to them for the hard work that they do to enable us to go racing. Trafford King's car, that's one of the cars that failed to finish the race. It pulled off with mechanical trouble at Church, didn't it? Trafford King's car. So he'll be clearly looking to get that remedied overnight. Team already setting to work in the paddock, getting that ready to go. So work going on in the paddock. Very busy paddock behind race control here. So many championships, so many cars. Very difficult to find a spot to put your own car, actually. But no, lots of work will be going on with drivers keen to repair cars that have been damaged in today's races to get them out for tomorrow. More evidence of the speed of the wind. You think if they had a few more of those turbines here, they could power the entirety of the national grid?
It would be an ideal place for a wind farm, although I'm not...
you don't advocate that.
No, exactly. But in the local area, perhaps. But I've always wondered if that particular one, powers something around the circuit. I presume it's not there for decoration. So
Probably the only thing keeping us on air, Andy. So,
which everyone is grateful, I'm sure. But yes, it is a rather blustery day. It often is here, even on a really properly warm day. You often get that nice breeze coming in off the sea. Although Kieran reliably informed me that actually, were it not for that breeze out there, it would be a little bit too toasty, perhaps, for his liking. So we sadly don't get the benefit of the sea breeze up here inside the commentary box, but we do get a spectacular view of the Anglesey Coastal Circuit. Out of the windows, I can see, in fact, that car is now en route back to the pit lane in the paddock. So hopefully should be off track in the next 30 to 60 seconds, and shouldn't then be too much longer before we can release the Mini 7 drivers out onto the grid and get things back underway again ahead of the second mini action of the day. The first race, of course, for the Mini 7s, and the first of 6 races that will take us through to the completion of day number 1.
That's right. So it looks like the recovered vehicle is about to drive into the paddock. The Mini 7s that are in the assembly area are shortly to be released out onto the circuit. So time to look ahead to the first of 2 races this weekend for the Mini 7 Championship. And cars are now heading out onto track then after that short delay for this first of 2 races this weekend for the Dunlop Mini 7 Championship. And it is on pole position going to be the car of number 80, Joe Thompson, for this one. He was fastest by less than a tenth of a second. Let's see how the rest of the grid lines up. So it's number 80, Joe Thompson, on pole position, and besides him is number 29, Damien Harrington, on double duty this weekend. We've seen him out in Mini Media already this weekend. Second row of the grid, you've got 3, which is Ross Billison, and then it is the 38 car next up of Stephen Hopper. On the third row of the grid, it's 73, Spencer Wanstall, and 20, Darren Thomas. On the fourth row, it's 26, which is Nigel Davis, and then 14, which is Jamie Payne. So there's 8 Mini 7s, and then there's actually 9 S-Class cars, and these start on a 10-second delay. So there'll be a 10-second pause, and then the next group of cars will go. They're headed by 700, Matthew Ayres, and next to him is number 789, Arnold Duncan. Row 7 of the grid is 777, Dave Rees, and 771, Bradley Jordan. Then it's 736, Bertie Willard, and 704, Chris Pryor. 765, Callum Perfect, and 733, Alex Watson. And 785, Tony Ayres, is going to round out the field. So 8 of the Mini 7s, 9 of the S-Class cars that we have for you this weekend. The S-Class is really the entry-level class, the scholarship class, the perfect entry point to circuit racing, using a lot of the same chassis and safety components as the Mini 7 formula. Power's derived from a road spec 1275cc A-series engine with carefully restricted and regulated tuning. And as I say, the grids are shared with the Mini 7s themselves, which is the original series, although it has evolved a long way from its 1960s roots. And these days, as we've got one car pulling off the circuit, that is the number 20 car, which is
Darren Thomas.
Darren Thomas, yes, he's pulling off the circuit. So that's a shame, and that's going to need some intervention before the race can get underway. The rest of the cars have gone off on the green flag lap, but these Mini 7s these days, they're 1 litre cars, highly developed, highly tuned A-series engines. They produce over 100 brake horsepower. They have straight cut gears, very distinctive sound that they make. They run on Dunlop cross-ply tyres as well, but although Darren Thomas's car isn't running on anything at the moment, that needs to be hauled out of the way. The Anglesey circuit vehicle is on the scene just to tow that car away. I imagine it will go into the pit lane exit to get rid of that, and fingers crossed we might just be able to get this sorted without too much delay to the restart. 20-minute race it is that's scheduled for the Mini 7s. So the cars are well on their way around the green flag lap. In the championship situation coming into this weekend in the Mini 7s, Ross Billison it is that leads the championship on 133 points. Spencer Wanstall has 119, and Joe Thompson, who's on pole position here, 112. In the S-Class, it's Matt Ayres that leads the way. He's the driver on pole position with 133. Michael Winkworth not here this weekend. He has 114. And Callum Perfect, who we've sometimes seen out with 750 Motor Club Stock Catch, he has 101 points. The wins so far this season, well, in the 7s, it's been 2 wins each for Ross Billison, Andrew Jordan, Mike Jordan and Joe Thompson. Spencer Wanstall yet to have a win, although he's right up there in the championship. In the S-Class, 3 wins to Michael Winkworth, who's not here, and 2 each to Matthew Ayres and 2 to Fraser Hack, who's also not here this weekend. Right, cars are back on the grid. The number 20 car has been taken away. I think it's just about to pull into the pit lane exit, and that's just about in the nick of time for the race to get underway, Andy, without too much delay. Final couple of cars into position. Don't forget, there's 2 starts. The Mini 7s go on the first start, then there's a 10-second delay before the second start for the S-Class cars. That'll go on the fall of the flag lights go out, and away they go. And it's a pretty good start by the car on pole position of number 80, Joe Thompson. And he's going to have the lead into the first corner. And around the first corner at target they go. And heading off up into the right-hander at the banking. A bit of a long delay before the second cars are released out into their race, it would seem. But it's Joe Thompson leading the way at the moment. It is side by side for the lead of the race, with 29 Harrington getting alongside him there. The S-Class cars finally do get away. It's Harrington that's gone into the lead of the race overall, though, and it looks like a change for second as well, because Ross Billison has briefly found his way into second position. Number 80 going up on the inside. That's Joe Thompson getting the place back, and Spencer Wanstall goes through as well. He's going to get to second as he nearly gets to the lead. This is fantastic racing for the Mini 7s.
Spencer Wanstall, that was desperately late on the brakes, and he got the car stopped, used quite a bit of curb to help rotate it, but almost got second place. He slots into third position then behind the pole sitter, Joe Thompson, who's down to second, but Spencer Wanstall up for the fight here early doors. Then we saw in that Mini Miglia race earlier on, it's not actually as easy to overtake around here as you might expect in these cars, so getting to the front early definitely is significant. Now, what's going on in the S-Class? There's a big lock-up, there's a bit of touchy-feely stuff heading into Rocket Complex, and I think the 771 car there, that was Bradley Jordan, wasn't it, getting into the back of another car. That will have done a bit of damage to the front of his machine, but it's side by side for the S-Class lead heading for Peel Corner, and it will be the number 700 car then, and Matthew Ayres, who was actually 4th quickest in qualifying, who got the lead but goes very wide at Peel and hands the lead straight back over to Arnold Duncan.
Yeah, so Duncan, that's what Brown car gets into the lead of the race, but back ahead goes Matthew Ayres, who's really, moving the car around quite a lot through the corkscrew, and it is back into the lead goes Ayres by the end of the lap. Duncan in second. Third is the 704 car with the Welsh flag flying on the side of his car. That's Chris Pryor, so he's proudly sporting the Welsh flag here. Meanwhile, in the Mini 7s, that's Joe Thompson up on the inside of Damien Harrington for the lead of the race at Rocket. But does he go too wide? Yes, because Damien Harrington can get back up into the lead around the outside at the second part of Rocket. So it's Harrington leading, Thompson in second place. Gap back then to Ross Billison in third. Spencer Wanstall is in 4th position. You don't know where to look in this race, Andy.
You do need several pairs of eyes, really, don't you? But, yeah, 2 great races going on simultaneously. A bit wide there, heading down the hill for the number 29 of Damien Harrington then, who retains the lead of the 7 class in the 7Ss. Well, they're up at Rocket Corner, and Bradley Jordan, who was dishing out the contact a lap ago, almost there, getting a helping hand from the car behind of Callum Perfect as they turned into Rocket in, but managing to keep it clean just about. We've had Stephen Hopper into the pit lane, by the way, so Stephen Hopper from the 7 class itself pulling in with an early drama, but from what I can tell, Ian, I think we're in for a great scrap across both classes, but particularly the S's. This looks like proper Mini 7 racing.
No, it certainly does. So these are the S-Class cars. It's airs from Arnold Duncan. Look at the lines they take through the corkscrew. Look how they chuck these cars around. It's absolutely fantastic stuff. If anything, though, bit more of a lead this time for Matt Ayres, ahead of Arnold Duncan in 2nd place. Meanwhile, outright, it is up towards Rocket for Damien Harrington. He's got Joe Thompson behind him. Up on 3 wheels he goes, as they so often do at that part of the circuit, but it's still Harrington holding on from Thompson in 2nd place and Billison in 3rd position. The S-Class cars are just rounding the banking, heading down towards Church Corner. There's the treble 7 car. That's Dave Reese. He's got a little bit of damage on his car after that contact from Bradley Jordan a few moments ago. Right behind him at the moment is the number 736 car of Bertie Woolard as they're making their way now up towards that right-hand kink, past the racing school, then continue the climb up to the left-hand Rocket. And there you can see the car in 2nd place of Duncan. We've also got that battle going on featuring Reese and Woolard. That's for about 4th place. There's a bit of a wheel arch that's gone flying there. That's not unusual in Mini 7 racing either.
That was Bradley Jordan again, getting into the back of Bertie Woolard, I think it was, on that occasion. Sorry, no, Callum Perfect, actually. So Bradley Jordan, yeah, losing another place to Callum Perfect up the back straight and then getting into the side of his car slightly as they went through through Rocket. So Bradley Jordan slipping down the order ever so slightly. The leader, definitely Matthew Ayres, getting away here, I'd say, from Arnold Duncan and Chris Pryor, though. So if those two keep on battling, then the leader is in danger of breaking away from the slipstreaming range, isn't he? In fact, I'd say he already is, really. What's that? Nearly a 2-second lead. 1.7 seconds the advantage for Matthew Ayres in the S-Class. Come back to the 7s, where that wheel arch is sat right in the middle of the road, but the leading trio all managed to straddle it pretty well. And still Damien Harrington the leader. Damien Harrington also Harrington now with the fastest lap as well, also 124.721, 2 and a bit tenths actually quicker than Joe Thompson behind. Ross Billison doing his best to stay with them, but really the most of the action happening within the S's, where there's a change for 3rd place. Dave Reese up the inside of Chris Pryor and takes that 3rd place away at Church.
And Bertie Woolard might try to follow through as well, because he's getting alongside the Chris Pryor car now. He's got his nose in front, he's got his bonnet in front. Can he make the move? No. Pryor gets back ahead. In fact, it's the 736 car that's going to lose out to Callum Perfect, who gets a bit of an unwanted helping hand there from Bradley Jordan as well, as they headed into Rocket that time. So they're not shy, are they, these guys, about a little bit of touching now and then, so it would seem. But it's Reese now, the very experienced mini race in the 777 car at the head of this group. They're just falling a little bit behind Matthew Ayres and Arnold Duncan in the lead of this S-Class. There you can see them. They both are just making their escape a little bit now after those intense early exchanges. And it's a similar story in the 7s as well, because Damien Harrington is getting away a little bit. So there's Ayres, number 700. Arnold Duncan in 789 is next up. He's not been on the podium yet this season, hasn't Arnold Duncan? He's had 6 top 6 finishes, yet to finish, though, in the top 3. So is that about to change today?
Well, he would hope so. Going the right way about it for now, isn't he? In 2nd position in the class. Dave Reese there in 3rd. That move that he made on Chris Pryor, just allowing the 2nd place man to get away slightly from this group. Head up towards Church Corner. The lead gap in the S's, by the way, Ayres back to Duncan 2.8 seconds and went out by 1.3 seconds on the previous lap. As for the 2nd lap in a row, Chris Pryor finds himself on the outside line at Church Corner, and up the middle of them all goes Bertie Woolard, and Bertie Woolard will gain 2 places out of that. I think Bradley Jordan trying to buy into this as well. They almost 4 abreast, heading up the hill, 3 wide they can just about get away with, and Woolard, having looked like he was gaining places, then ends up losing them. Bradley Jordan is sideways under braking. The 2 cars ahead make a completely different line through Rocket in, and in the end it's Callum Perfect who will lose out. He is re-overtaken by Chris Pryor, so Pryor goes 4th, Perfect 5th, Jordan 6th, and Bertie Woolard, who at one point looked like he was going to pass the lot of them, Ian, falls to the back of that group.
Absolutely sensational racing, isn't it? Especially when they're under braking. This is the benefit. I mean, they're putting out, not that much horsepower, these cars in the S-Class, so they're underpowered. It's all about momentum. That's so important. It does mean it's so close, the racing on the brakes into slow parts of the circuit, such as Rocket. There's Arnold Duncan. He's being caught now a little bit by Dave Rees, I think. Let's just have a look at the gaps that time through. Yeah, Rees was about a 1/10 of a second faster. So that's catching, and it's Pryor that's now hit problems. He's falling to the back of that group. Is that, that's looking like a terminal issue, isn't it? Because he's dropping further and further back. I thought it might just have been a missed gear or something like that, but it does look like it's something that's going to rule the Welshman out of the race on his home tarmac.
Well, that is a shame, isn't it, then, because that sort of split that pack up as well a little bit. As he lost drive, the other cars around him had to sort of slow down and take avoiding action as well. So hopefully they'll all be able to group back together again a little bit. But, yeah, a bit of a shame that's just separated some of the battles, not all of them, though. Bertie Woolard on the tail here of Bradley Jordan and about to try and slip up the inside into Rocket. I suspect he's late on the brakes. He's got the inside line. Bradley Jordan wants to close the door but can't. He doesn't really need to, though, because he hangs on around the outside through Rocket in, gets the inside for Rocket out, and keeps Bertie Woolard at bay. So Bradley Jordan then successfully defends 6th position in class. Bradley, the younger brother, I believe, isn't he, of Andrew Jordan, former British Touring Car champion. The son of Mike Jordan. Bradley just beginning his motor racing adventure in Mini 7s, where else better for him to learn his craft, and certainly been getting stuck in so far today.
Absolutely right. I think the whole Jordan family was interviewed at the last meeting by David Addison before the Mini 7 races there at Thruxton. And it was great to see what a family affair it is between Mike and Andrew and Bradley as well. There we can see more fantastic racing going on. That's Dave Rees that was really pushing hard, using all of the curb and probably just about all that he was allowed to there as he pushed on. Still in 3rd place within that class. He's 1.4 seconds now behind Arnold Duncan. Best lap within the S-Class has gone to Ayres. He's just done it, actually, 1:26.654. That compares to the best time in the Mini 7s themselves, a 1:24.687 for Harrington. And that is a lap that is pretty much on the existing lap record for the Mini 7s, just a 1,000th or 2 outside of it at this stage, I reckon. Could see that lap record go today.
Chris Pryor, by the way, did limp back to the pit lane, so that's good news. He's not stranded out on track, but bad news, he's out of the race with whatever that mechanical drama was. Here comes Arnold Duncan, 2nd place within the Mini 7S category, but not able to live with the pace of Matthew Ayres at the moment, not even remotely, really. Matthew was nearly 6 seconds clear at the beginning of the lap, and I suspect that gap has gone back out again on this one. I would say, though, that Callum Perfect has closed back in on Dave Rees, so 3rd position in the S-Class could still be up for grabs. Matt Ayres, though, in dominant form, having got to the front, he then did just sort of, slowly initially, but then after he gained that little bit of a lead, it's been a rapid increase of that advantage, and he is now 7.3 seconds up the road from Arnold Duncan, lapping nearly 2 seconds a lap faster.
Yep, with 8 3/4 minutes of the race left to go as well. And it has, for a moment, become a little bit spread out by the standards of Mini 7 racing, hasn't it? There are still some battles to be had down the field, it would seem. There's Lappery has started now for the race leader as well, because Damien Harrington has just got past the number 785 car of Tony Ayres, and Joe Thompson in 2nd place is about to do that as well. Here is the fight, though, that we were talking about. Dave Rees and Callum Perfect. Perfect in the 765 car. He's been a class winner in Hot Hatch before as Callum Perfect, but he's losing out to Dave Rees here in the battle for 3rd place for the moment. But he did take time out of him, half a second or so on that last lap. Bradley Jordan, though, was actually faster than both of them on the previous lap as well, so we need to watch out for him. He's continuing to close down on them as well. He's in 12th place overall and 5th within the S-Class at the moment, with just under 8 minutes of this race left to go. So that's looking like where the battle might be for 3rd place within the S-Class.
Yep, out of the final corner they come then. And, well, are they catching Arnold Duncan, though? I think they might be. Duncan did a 28.7. Yeah, they were 0.2 quicker than Duncan, so they're back within a second now of the second place man in class. So could yet become a fight for second. It's a 20-minute race, this, remember. We are only 2/3 of the way through it, 7.5 to go. And I think they could still catch Arnold Duncan. And with Bradley Jordan catching them as well, it will then become a 4-way fight, potentially, for second place in class. So this could continue to build up quite nicely. If you get within a second, 3/4 of a second maybe of the car in front, you'll start to pick up that slipstream, and then the last 3/4 of a second evaporate usually pretty quickly. So, yeah, I think we could get them all back together within the next lap or so.
Yeah, I think you might be right. So they're sort of overlapping now on the run up to school corner. Here's Perfect. He's almost overlapping with Reese into Rocket that time. Jordan with them as well. And then Duncan only about 9/10 of a second ahead. And Duncan, one of the few drivers I've seen racing a brown car in recent years. I can't think of too many other examples, but you know, if it works, then that's great. So he's in second place. Matthew Ayres, how far ahead is he within that class? He's now 9 seconds or so ahead of Arnold Duncan. So Matthew Ayres, Matt Ayres has pulled away and as befits his lead in the championship in the S-Class so far this year. We're roughly halfway through the season in the Mini 7 Racing Club, their various championships. They did all lose either 1 or 2 races at Cadwell Park earlier in the year on a very wet weekend, so they've made up some of those races already. I think they're also going to all get the next race at another event later in the year, both the Sevens and the Melias. But this is officially round 9 of 17 in the championship this year, so pretty much the halfway point of the season. So there's Perfect in the 765 car. There is Matt Ayres, the class leader, as we say, a long way ahead of anybody else within that class, and he is, I think, catching some of the stragglers in the Mini 7 class itself now.
Yep, Stephen Hopper, I think he's only a couple of seconds behind. Now, this for second place in the S's, they have caught Arnold Duncan, as I suspected. That last second or so that he had has vanished pretty quickly. He did make a bit of a mistake, it seemed, going into Rocket, but actually gaps Dave Reese because he got it even more wrong. So he's got Callum Perfect and Bradley Jordan tucked up behind him now. They're about to come back into our sight out of the window anyway, over the top of the hill down towards the corkscrew. And Callum Perfect hunting around behind Dave Reese, who takes a slightly wider turn into the corkscrew, but they all end up single file dropping down the hill. And as they head for the final corner, we will have 4 3/4 minutes of the race to go. The outright race leaders, of course, are over half a lap ahead of this group, but this is the most entertaining battle on the track, certainly. And Arnold Duncan with a fight on his hands if he wants to retain this second place.
Yes, indeed. So it's really coming to life, this race, in the last quarter. These 4 cars all together. Bradley Jordan there locking up on the way into the banking. This just lightly banked. It's actually a bit more steeply banked than it looked on that shot, hairpin. Sort of the second corner of the lap. It's quite a challenge to get that right. Different lines that you can take through it to make it work. So there's Bradley Jordan, and he is chasing after Callum Perfect and Dave Reese, who's been the competitor in Mighty Minis as well in the past. And as we say, Arnold Duncan side by side between Perfect and Reese. Perfect's going to be on the outside line. Bradley Jordan's trying to squeeze between the two of them. Can he gain anything from all of this? He's determined to do so. Perfect's got ahead of Reese. Is Reese going to lose a couple of places here because Jordan's on the inside of him? He's not all the way alongside though, so Reese, I think at Peel, is going to hold on, although he goes quite deep into the corner. A bit of an overlap going on there, but the next corner should favour Reese because it's the left-handed first element of the corkscrew, and he does indeed hang on to the position. So Jordan not really having made up any positions as yet.
Yes, but another example there, we've seen this a few times in this race, of a driver who had been looking likely to gain a place, then losing one in the shape of Dave Reese, with Callum Perfect steaming round the outside of him into Rocket. And Callum now looks pretty racy against Arnold Duncan, doesn't he? 3 minutes left of the race to try and find a way through, and the blue number 765 car on the tail of the second place man within the 7S's. Bradley Jordan there with a very early turn into the banking. You can do that into the banking because that camber does help rotate the car, but sometimes you'll lose a little bit of exit speed as a result. And as a result perhaps of their battling, they've just dropped a little bit of time now to Arnold Duncan and Callum Perfect. But this lap, perhaps Ian, Callum might start to think about making a challenge for second place towards Rocket.
Yeah, I think you could be right. I mean, he's not going to get any further than that because Matt Ayres is so far up the road now, more than 14 seconds up the road. But there is a chance here. There's also a chance for Reese to be passed by Bradley Jordan, and I think he's done that this time. He's gone through on the inside. Has he gone wide on the exit? No, Reese is just about going to hold on to that. That means they have lost a little bit more time to the two cars in front, Callum Perfect and Arnold Duncan, who we're going to see come into shot here. It is still Duncan ahead. Callum Perfect's about 3 milli-lengths behind him as they drop now down to the corkscrew once again, back towards the start and finish line at the sort of lowest point of the circuit, really, down at the start line. There's our race leader, Damien Harrington. We've not seen a lot of him in this race, but he is still 4 seconds ahead of anybody else. Joe Thompson, number 8, he's still in second. He was our pole position man, don't forget. And Ross Billison, number 3, in third. But paying attention still to this battle for second place within the S-Class, it's still Arnold Duncan, 7.89 ahead of 7.65, Callum Perfect.
Yep, but for how much longer? Here comes Bradley Jordan steaming up the inside. That early turn into the banking really working that time. That was a bit of a block pass, as they'd call it in America. And I think it might have netted him 4th position. Yes, it did. So good move made there by Bradley Jordan. He sort of teed that up a lap ago, didn't he? And then really committed to it that time. Now, what can Callum Perfect do? Can he take a leaf out of the Jordan book and be very late on the brakes into Rocket? Well, there might be an opportunity up the inside. No, Arnold Duncan closes the door. And then Callum Perfect forced to go the long way round. Oh, and Dave Reese was back ahead of Bradley Jordan, but Bradley then nipped back up the inside into Rocket. So something went wrong there for Jordan through Church Corner, but he got the place back again. So Bradley Jordan does now make 4th place in the class his own, and still it is Arnold Duncan keeping Callum Perfect at bay for second.
Absolutely. Callum looking to match his best result of the season, which was a second place at Snetterton a little bit earlier on in the season. Keen to do that, but he's got to get back ahead of Arnold Duncan to do that. He's had a couple of podiums this year. As I say, Arnold has yet to have a podium this season, so he'll be very keen to cling on to second place. It will be at a distance away from Matt Ayres. So they are going to go on to their next lap. I'm not sure it's the final lap as yet, though, because only just about now is Damien Harrington going to... Yeah, he's going to go on into his last lap. So still 2 laps to go for the S-Class cars, unless Harrington laps them before the end of this one, which I don't think he's quite going to do.
No, I don't think so. He's doing 1 minute 25, they're doing 28, and I think he's more than 3 seconds behind. So hopefully he doesn't. I'd like to see this battle run on a little bit longer, because I do think Callum Perfect's going to have a go here. If he has half a chance. Bradley Jordan, meanwhile, I think is probably closing back in on them slightly. Now, yes, he did a high 27. They were in the low 28s. He was about half a second quicker than these two, and that was with an overtake and a bit of side-by-side battling with Dave Reese. So with a lap and a half to go, Bradley Jordan could get back into podium contention, especially if these two start battling. But they're not really doing that this time around through Rocket. They stay single file. Arnold Duncan just ahead of Callum Perfect, but Bradley Jordan looks actually the quicker of the 3.
He does, doesn't he? So let's see. They've, as we say, just about got a lap and a bit to go. Damien Harrington is not too far behind them now. He's about to come through. There he is to take the checkered flag. He's 5 seconds clear of Joe Thompson, so he's dropping down into the corkscrew for the final time. So Damien Harrington, yet to be a winner this season. He's had 3 podiums. None of those have been a P1, though. He's been on the in the top 6 on 6 occasions out of the 7 races so far, but he's coming through the final corner now, and Damien Harrington for the first time this season is a winner in the Dunlop Money 7 Championship. He takes the checkered flag, and he's going to finish about 5 seconds clear of Joe Thompson in second, and Ross Billison should take 3rd position. The battle, though, for the S-Class cars, that is just coming off the banking and towards Church Corner.
Yep, through the right-hander they're about to go. So realistically, one more shot at this for Callum Perfect, but he'll have to be mindful of Bradley Jordan. If he goes for a move and it doesn't work, it could end up costing him 3rd place, and he may find himself off the class podium altogether. It's all going to sort itself out then as they head towards Rocket for the final time. The slipstream takes effect. Callum Perfect closes in. Does he launch it to the inside? No, just can't quite outbrake Arnold Duncan. Look at Jordan steaming in behind them. His car is by far the best under braking, isn't it? He just couldn't quite make the move stick into the right-handed element of Rocket, and I think that Bradley Jordan's going to have to settle in behind Callum Perfect for now. no real further overtaking opportunities on the lap. Of course, a mistake could still yield an opportunity to gain a place, but for now they stay in the same order, heading towards the corkscrew.
Meanwhile, Matty Ayres goes across the line now to win the S-Class. Who's going to be second within it, though? They're just dropping down through the corkscrew for the final time. Any mistakes there from anyone? No, not really. So it looks like it's going to be Arnold Duncan who's going to come through to take his best result of the season so far. At second place, Callum Perfect third, Bradley Jordan fourth, Dave Rees in fifth within the S-Class, and he's the last driver to take the checkered flag. So Damien Harrington it was that was the winner in the Mini 7s. The S-Class won by Matt Ayres, and Harrington's best laps on 1:24.687, just 2 thousandths outside Mike Jordan's lap record from a couple of years ago. Confirmation that Harrington got the victory then in car 29, 15 laps he completed in 21 and a bit minutes. Joe Thompson 5.2 seconds behind him in second place, number 80. Third place, number 3, Ross Billison. Fourth to number 73, Spencer Wanstall. Fifth to number 14, Jamie Payne. And sixth to number 26, Nigel Davis. A dominant win too for Matt Ayres in the S-Class in number 700. He was, 17 seconds or so ahead of his second place car in that class, which was 789 Arnold Duncan. Sandwiched in between them was the last of the Mini 7, Stephen Hopper. Callum Perfect, 765, took third in the S's and 10th overall, ahead of Bradley Jordan, Dave Rees, Bertie Willard and Alex Watson. And just outside the top 14, Tony Ayres was the only other finisher. Chris Pryor retired to the pits, and of course Darren Thomas failed to take the start. He was pushed off the grid. So Mini 7s are back out tomorrow morning. They're the last race before the lunch break tomorrow around about 5 to 12. Still, 5 races to come this afternoon. We've got Mazda 7s, Bike Sports, the Armed Forces Race Challenge, K-Tech Racing Clio Sport Championship, and BMWs from the 116 Sprint Trophy and 120 Coupe Cup still to come. So we look forward to those as we race into the early evening here at Anglesey today at this 750 Motor Club organised race meeting. And tomorrow it's a slightly earlier finish. Last race scheduled to start at 4:05, so everyone can make their way home for a hopefully reasonable hour tomorrow afternoon. So we'll have the cars coming out shortly for the Mazda 7s. They go without a green flag lap, and I don't think there's too much clearing up to be done at the end of that race, so it's going to be a relatively quick turnaround for them. So we'll head down to Parc Fermé right now and hear from Kieran Mugg with successful Mini drivers.
Well, if that race wasn't proof that all cars should be about 2 inches tall and 3 inches wide, then I don't know what is. But we have our race winner, Damien Harrington, here. Damien, that was an absolutely extraordinary race, but you managed to just manage your gap at the front of it. How was it out there?
I wasn't managing any gap. I was going as fast as I could every lap. It was, you just feel the pressure. I just kept looking at my rearview mirror, could see Joe behind me and Ross, so I just thought I've got to get every corner perfect, nail every gear change, and it's honestly, it's a very long time. That last lap board was about 10 laps too late.
And how are you finding the circuit? Is this a circuit that you enjoy driving at?
Oh, I absolutely love this circuit. Now I love it even more. But yeah, I've always enjoyed it. It's difficult, it's technical. With the wind, it changes everything. The rain changes everything. It's a great circuit, and we've got the beach right here. So I'm going to go off for a swim, I think.
I don't blame you. It might be a bit cold, but enjoy it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Cheers, thank you very much. Now, we do have our Class B winner, Matthew Ayres, just there as well. Unfortunately, we haven't got enough time because the cars are just on the grid. So, let's see what happens.
Yep, it's the Aim Shop Mazda 7 Championship that is up next. The 5-second board is shown to the drivers ahead of a 15-minute race for these low-cost chassis with Mazda MX-5 running gear. A little bit of creeping from the car on pole position of number 54, David Hitchin, but the race gets underway and they head off up towards the first corner. Then it's Hitchin from pole position that's going to have the lead. It was Craig Land, number 87, alongside him on the front row of the grid, but he has lost out to Ben Powney into the first corner. So it's Powney that's up to second place at target. So it's Hitchin leading, Powney second. Craig Land, the double low-cost champion, is in third position, and then it looks like it's Eddie Moyer who is in 4th place, number 77, as they head out of the banking towards Church Corner for the first time. Looks like Craig Land getting the place back away from Ben Powney there. Indeed he is, and Eddie Moyer following him through as well. He's going to go up to 3rd position. There's going to be a lot of slipstreaming, particularly at this part of the circuit, in the course of this Aim Shop Mazda 7 race. They're up at Rocket Corner for the first time in this race, Andy.
Oh, and a bit of debris going flying, a little bit of wheel banging perhaps up at the top of the hill. Looks as though Martin West might have lost a couple of positions in his number 94 car, but managing to perhaps pick one of those back up through the Rocket Complex. The inside line looks David Bowen, and he makes contact with the car he was trying to get past, and the two of them end up entangled up at the top of the hill. That was Callum Barnes, the number 3, and that may have broken the suspension on that number 3 car, so I fear he may be stranded there right on the racing line coming out of Church Corner. So a little bit of a clumsy moment there. The leaders complete the opening lap though, nose to tail between David Hitchin and Craig Land, and we expect nothing less from this championship. This is the kind of racing that we always see from the Aim Shop Mazda 7s, and well, hopefully we don't get a safety car, because if we do continue racing, this should be a pretty entertaining 15 minutes.
It certainly should, and it is Hitchin leading then from Craig Land in 2nd, Moyer in 3rd place, Ben Powney in 4th. The quality of drivers in this championship is exceptional. Grid's a little bit down from previous rounds, just a double header rather than 3 races this weekend, so a long way for some drivers for 2 races. The entries, I'm told, for forthcoming rounds though are looking very strong indeed. Challenge on for the lead, challenge on for 3rd as well. Ben Powney's got 3rd place back from Eddie Moyer. Buying into this as well is Martin Wester, a former low-cost champion. He was in 5th place a moment ago. He's still in 5th now, but he's overlapping with Eddie Moyer there for 4th position. So they're coming up to the part of the circuit where the Callum Barnes car was, but that did get going again in the end, didn't it? So the circuit is clear, which is good news, and the race can continue. So down towards the corkscrew they come then. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars in this leading group.
Yep, through towards the end of lap number 2 then, and the small gap back to the 6th place man, but that is David Martin, the number 4, and he's just moved into 6th position at the end of the previous lap, so might be able to go after the leaders. Ben Powney sets the fastest lap, the first full flying lap of the race. He is the man in 3rd position then as they head towards the banking. Hitchin, Land, Powney, Moyer and West, the top 5. And David Martin in 6th position with a 19.5, no, slightly slower than them actually on that previous lap. But we know what's coming now as they come out of Church Corner. Craig Land will more than likely pick up that slipstream and more than likely try to convert that into a move for the race lead at the top of the hill.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic racing here. David Hitchin coming into this weekend in the lead of the championship. He's yet to win a race. He'd like to do that here. Craig Land trying to stop him though. Up on the inside into Rocket Corner. Craig Land goes through to take the lead. So the man who's been a double champion in low cost gets ahead of the current leader of this year's Mazda 7 championship. Then you've got Ben Powney in 3rd. He's been doing some classic Formula Ford racing as well so far this season. A bit of a protégé of Rick Shortall. And then in 4th place at the moment is Eddie Moore ahead of Martin West. So they're dropping back down now towards the corkscrew on a beautiful afternoon, but windy afternoon here at Anglesey Circuit. Down through the corkscrew they come towards the end of what's already the 3rd lap of this race. 11 minutes of it left to go. As you can see, they're using all of the curb there, and they'll do the same at turn 1 target as well. Quite a bit of curb and sort of concrete area there for them to use. Craig Land getting the best lap of the race now, 1:17.649. That's outside the lap record. That's a 1:17.56 held by the man in 3rd position at the moment, Ben Powney.
Okay, but only, what, under a tenth of a second away from that, aren't we?
Yep.
So we could see that tumble before the end of the race. Bit of a poor run out of Church that time, but Craig Land ran a bit too wide up the exit curve. That gives David Hitchin the run, and I suspect it will give David Hitchin the lead by the time we exit the Rocket Complex. He's on the inside line, but no, Craig Land very late on the brakes, manages to keep hold of the position. Sideways, Martin West having briefly got up the inside of Eddie Moyer, but then Moyer coming right back at him as a result of that slide for Martin, who was a bit too late on the brakes, but Martin had the inside line for the second part of Rocket and will hold on to 4th position. But that little bit of side-by-side racing just allows the top 3 to break clear, so West needs to get his head down now and try and bridge that not enormous gap, but a reasonably substantial one to the leading trio.
Through the corkscrew then, 1/3 of the way through this race, 2/3 of it still to go. Craig Land still leading from Hitchin and Ben Powney in 3rd, and 4th and 5th. Weston Moyer. They are having a fine battle, the two of them. Moyer, the 26-year-old from Laceby, only in his third season of racing in this TSR Team Sellers Racing belt car. He's in 5th place at the moment, behind the man from Southampton, Martin West. Hitchin was a little bit too much curb usage there, I think, possibly coming out of the banking that time, and he's possibly been dropped a little bit more by Craig Land as a result of that. Though, as I look at them out of the window, it's pretty equidistant, first to second to third, and Hitchin is back into the tow now. He's back on the coattails of Craig Land as they head up towards Rocket. Craig Land in that 87 car started racing in 2016, two-time low-cost champion. And in this car, actually, was converted to Mazda 7 spec by TSR over the winter. Been racing since 2018. Has the man from Heanor in the East Midlands, 31-year-old Craig Land. He's got Hitchin behind him, who raced in the Clio Championship before he switched to Mazda 7s. And Ben Powney's also had experience in F1000 as well, hasn't he? Before he stepped away from that a year or two ago. Craig Pollard taking on his car in that championship. So he's had a bit of a variety of experience, Ben Powney, over the last few seasons. Leader, though, is still Craig Land, turning his way into target for the 6th time in this race. Best lap of the race still to Craig Land, 1:17.649. On that lap, though, of the leading group, David Hitchin was fastest.
Yes, okay, interesting. So David Hitchin will need to be quite quick again on this lap, won't he? Because he's, again, not had a great run through the first couple of corners, really. And just lost a bit of ground through the banking. And now needs to rely on that slipstream to close back in. But this is now a bit of a lead held by Craig Land, I'd say, at this point. Meanwhile, David Martin here, 6th position, with a lot of pressure coming from Todd Boatsher behind him. Todd gets to the inside line into Rocket, snatches the front brakes not once but twice, and that was not the prettiest of passes, but it was effective. It got the job done, and he slips up into 6th position. Lucas Batt now joining in the fun too. So it's not just the lead group that's having an entertaining battle. Wherever you are in the field, there's someone to have a race with.
Absolutely right. Lucas Batt there in that number 66 car, the driver from Chesham. And Todd Boucher having made his way past David Martin. Todd was battling with Craig Land for the first half of last year's low-cost championship before he had to sit out the second half of the season due to work commitments. And he was someone who we expected to be up at the sharp end in Mazda 7s this season, but the transition, well, it's still something he's acclimatising to, the change in car. A bit more power, of course. These cars probably about 6 seconds a lap faster than the low cost. The chassis is the same, but it's different running gear, and there's other modifications, of course, to allow for the fact that there's that bit more power being transmitted through the wheels to the tarmac. So there's the battle for 7th, Martin and Batt. Behind them is Martin Shelton, who's been a driver that's had podium finishes before. Now, there is the fight for the lead again. It's still Craig Land from David Hitchin, and there's not much to choose between these. They have seemingly, though, dropped Ben Powney a little bit now.
Well, it was that gap was 3/4 of a second at the line, which actually was bigger than it was even a lap earlier. So I wonder whether Craig had a moment somewhere in the first part of the lap, because Hitchin suddenly seemed to be with him. You're right, though, Ben Powney not going with him. So Ben Powney becoming a bit detached and a bit lonely now in 3rd place. Here comes there was the 66 car of Lucas Batt, having gained a place there, I think, heading up the hill on David Martin. The leaders, though, are heading down through the corkscrew, and it is once again 3 for the lead, near enough, because I think Ben Powney's been listening to us. The leader does a 19.1, it's a 20.0 for Land, it's a 19.1 for West, though, and it is Hitchin into the lead. So Hitchin having gone through significantly quicker than Craig Land on that lap, and now Craig has it all to do again.
Certainly does. So 3 for the lead, and a bit of a gap back to Martin West and Eddie Moyer in 4th and 5th positions. And here are the leaders then. David Hitchin, number 54, the driver from Bedfordshire. He has the advantage over the East Midlander, Craig Land, at the moment, but not by much, and Land will get closer and close to the back of the Hitchin car. Is he going to try and dive out? Up the middle of the road goes Hitchin, but Land determined to stay alongside and try and squeeze his way around the outside, give himself the inside line for the second part of Rocket. Has it worked? It might have done, you know. I think it has. Nice move that from Craig Land to retake the lead of the race from David Hitchin.
Yeah, that was good stuff. Craig has looked maybe the more confident of the two under braking, I'd say, in this race. There has been a couple of times where either he was defending from Hitchin and was able to outbrake him, or on that occasion trying to gain a place. Found some grip around the outside line, and again that side-by-side exchange brings Ben Powney onto their tail as well. 4.5 minutes to go then. Down through the corkscrew again, it is once more Craig Land out in front, with David Hitchin and Ben Powney behind. The top three covered by less than a second. Martin West still in fourth. Eddie Moyer is about 3/4 of a second or so behind him in fifth, and actually coming back at Martin West slightly on that lap, a couple of tenths faster. But the leading trio is where all of the action is to be found, really. Actually, that's a lie, because we've got some good action going on further back, and this is Callum Barnes, the recovering Callum Barnes, the corner at which he was tipped into a spin on the opening lap, gaining a position, and I think that was Lewis Penstone-Smith that he was passing.
Down through the corkscrew they go then, with 4 minutes of this race left to go. There's Lucas Batt. He's in 7th position at the moment, and he's got a little bit of a gap opened up to Todd Boucher. He's got David Martin just almost exactly a second behind him at the moment. Here's the leading quintet, though, separated by only about 3 seconds at the beginning of this lap, which is lap number 9 of the race. Ben Powney in the orange car in the middle of this, the driver from Kent, and he's got about a second, it would seem, to make up on these two in front of him at the moment. It's still very hard to pick the winner from this, isn't it? Craig Land or David Hitchin. It's more than likely going to be one of those two, but it could all boil down to what happens at Rocket on the final lap, which is probably going to be 2 laps away. I think they'll get 3 more laps out of this race.
Yep, lapping once again in the mid to high 118s, the leading group that time around. Craig Land, though, just getting away now from Hitchin slightly. We've seen a bit of fluctuation in this gap, particularly through the first sector on previous laps. Let's see what happens this time around. But Hitchin in danger now of losing the toe, isn't he? He was 3/4 of a second back at the start of the lap. Needs a really good run through Church to just get a whiff of that slipstream. Maybe close the gap down a bit more up the hill. He might just be getting a little bit of that, but not a huge advantage to be gained. So look, Craig Land, for the first time in a while, not really engaged in a battle for the lead when we get to the top of the hill. See there, that gap almost halved still, even from that sort of distance. That's the effect of the slipstream. Not enough to get Hitchin within striking range. Martin West going very wide into Rocket. He was, I was about to say, almost back on the tail of Ben Powney, but that mistake, I'm afraid, has lost him more time than he'd gained so far on that lap.
Indeed. Now, Hitchin does need to be careful. He's just got the black and white driving standards flag now for exceeding track limits, which means if he does so again, he's going to start picking up penalties, and he really can't afford to pick up a 5-second penalty, not least because his position here against Craig Land has deteriorated slightly, and also because 5th would drop him back to 5th position in this race as things stand. Over the line they go, the minute 50 to go, so 1 more lap to go after this. This is therefore the penultimate lap of the race. Craig Land it is that is leading, David Hitchin in 2nd, and Ben Powney in 3rd place. So far this season, Craig Land has yet to win a race, had 3 podiums, a best finish of 2nd place at Donington Park in the opening meeting of the season, so he's still looking for his first win of the year. The wins having gone to Ben Powney, Martin West and Eddie Moyer so far this season. The drivers in 3rd, 4th and 5th position.
David Hitchin with a much better run through the first half of this lap, the penultimate lap of the race, so lap and a half to go, and he's just digging his way back into contention here, I'd say, David Hitchin. Up the hill he goes. Well, in fact, that is Martin West in 4th position heading up the hill, doing his best to try and get on turns with Ben Powney. At the start of the lap, he was 1.7 seconds behind Powney, but that doesn't look like 1.7 seconds now, and this doesn't look like 8.5 tenths, which is what the gap was at the start of the lap. David Hitchin has put together a really good penultimate lap of the race, and he's going to give himself at least 1 more shot up that back straight, challenging for the lead.
Yeah, either way, it looks like we're going to get a new winner this season, unless these two collide and take each other out, and they're probably tempted fate by saying that now. They've got just over a lap to go then. We're ticking down into the last 30 seconds or so of the race. Last lap board does go out to Craig Land. Gap at the end of that lap was 0.657 seconds, just about close enough, but Hitchin needs a good run through the banking and Church, really, in order to be close enough along the back stretch through School and up towards Rocket to take the fight to Craig Land here. Ben Powney and Martin West and Eddie Moyer, they've spread themselves out. They're too far out of the equation now, so it's between these two.
Yep, through Church Corner then. Hitchin nice and neat and tidy on that apex curve, but I just don't think he's close enough. I think he will close in here, but probably not close enough to really dive to the inside. Let's see what happens then. For the final time, they head towards Rocket Corner, and actually he's a good car length or so too far back, really. Closes in under braking, does Hitchin. Well, if he's going to make something happen now, it will be a really brave move in the last few corners of the last lap of the race. Craig Land really has judged this well, hasn't he? That gap that he bought himself at 2/3 race distance has probably allowed him to control the race to the flag. David Hitchin will keep on applying the pressure through these final few corners.
He will, but I think it might be to no avail, so he's still going to be looking for that first win of the season. Craig Land, though, is about to record his first win in Mazda 7 racing. Out of the corkscrew he comes, up to the checkered flag, over the line he goes. He's pretty happy with that. Second place goes to David Hitchin, third place to Ben Powney, fourth to Martin West, fifth to Eddie Moyer. A bit of a gap back then. Sixth place, that's where we find number 20, Todd Boucher. Seventh place is going to go to Lucas Batt, who's had David Martin for fairly close company for much of that race. He takes 8th place. Martin Shelton in the pink and blue car takes 9th, and rounding out the top 10, someone we've not really mentioned too much during the course of this race, number 17, Ben Dade in the ex-Jonathan Lissiter car. So, first of 2 races completed for the Mazda 7s. An entertaining race it was. Now, David Hitchin has picked up a 5-second penalty right at the end of the race. We saw him being warned for track limits quite close to the end of the race. Clearly, he breached them once again before the end of it, and what was second place has become 4th position for David Hitchin, and that's, for him, personally, very disappointing. Confirmation now of that penalty on screen. So David Hitchin pinged back to 4th place, and in the end, only about a 1/10 of a second ahead of Eddie Moyer in the classification. So if Eddie had just pushed that a little bit harder on that last lap, he probably wasn't thinking he needed to. He could have picked up an extra couple of points. Last few cars just coming over the line, and then we'll give you a look at the results of the first of 2 races this weekend for the AIM Shop Mazda 7 Championship. It was a 12-lap race in the end, and it was won by Craig Land, number 87. The winning margin was 2.689 seconds in the end, because Ben Powney has been reclassified to second place in number 37, third to number 94, Martin West. David Hitchin, number 54, drops back to 4th place with that track limits penalty. 5th to number 77, Eddie Moyer. 6th to number 20, Todd Boucher. 7th to 66, Lucas Batt. 8th to number 4, David Martin. Martin Shelton, number 99, was 9th, and Ben Dade, number 17, completed the top 10 ahead of Ayrton Rogers, Sam McKee, Lewis Penstone Smith, and David Bowen. And just a couple more cars to report. They were Callum Barnes in number 3 and Lee Rogers in number 69. And all 16 cars that started, despite a little bit of a clash on the opening lap, made it to the end of that race. Mazda 7s are back out tomorrow morning at around about 11:30 for their second and final race of the weekend. So we're getting close towards the end of the programme. Still 4 more races to go here at Anglesey this evening. And then we will be looking ahead to tomorrow's race programme. We've got another 10 races for you, with one qualifying session at 9 o'clock and then the first race of the day at 9:30 in the morning. So a bright and early start for us tomorrow. And we look forward to that, with the majority of the categories that have raced here today back tomorrow, with the exception of the Armed Forces Race Challenge and the bike sports. They're going to complete their racing today, and of course the 116's sprint switch to an endurance format. Anyway, let's head down to Kieran Mogg. He's in Parc Fermé at the end of the Mazda 7 race.
Thank you very much, guys. We are down here in Parc Fermé. I'm going to catch a word with the winner, Craig Land. Craig, firstly, I just want to say congratulations. That move was incredible. Talk us through the race.
Yeah, I guess we were testing here yesterday, and we didn't know where we was going to be in qualifying, and obviously qualifying on the front row is basically what our target was. But yeah, I knew it was going to be a tough race. Obviously, got Ben around. I've got David. I've also got Martin West as well, so it's going to be a tough one. But yeah, and as soon as I got alongside David, I knew it was going to be a race to the finish. I think he had a little bit more legs on me at the top end in the complex, and I definitely had down the corkscrew. I seemed to have a little bit of advantage through there. But no, cracking race. I think it was fantastic, and I just want to say that one's from my grandma that passed away recently, so that was for that. Cheers.
Absolutely. Well, couldn't end the interview better. Congratulations on the win.
Right, cheers. Right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Right, we'll take a quick word with our second place finisher, Ben. Second place, how was that race?
Yeah, I don't know why I'm second place. What happened today? Was he got excluded for track limits, is it? Do you know? Or?
I don't know.
Sorry.
I don't know.
Yeah,
they just said, yeah.
I finished third on the road and I'm here in second, so I'm happy with that, yeah.
Absolutely.
Day long.
100%. Now, obviously, yeah, second place. How are you feeling in terms of pace going into the next race? Do you reckon you can take it?
Yeah, good. I haven't looked at the weather forecast yet, but I mean, we're in Anglesey in North Wales. It's going to rain at some point, isn't it, you'd think? So, yeah, hopefully a bit of rain tomorrow to spice it up, I think, just to rejumble the order, hopefully. So, yeah, fingers crossed.
And how are you feeling with the setup of the car? Like, are you happy with it, or do you think you're going to make some changes?
I think I've got to make some changes. Yeah, you can't. I don't really feel like I could have caught either of the two in front of me, so I'm going to have to do something. But it's nearly there. Just fine tweaks, I think. So we'll have a look tonight.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on the second place.
Thank you, mate. Nice.
Cheers. Thank you. And quick word with our third place finisher, Martin. Martin, if I can just jump in here a second. Third place. How was the pace from your end?
Yeah, nothing wrong with the car. I knew I was going to be in a bit of trouble when I see these lot all with the new tyres on the rear. This track eats tyres. We really struggled in testing yesterday. But yeah, I could get to within a couple of car lengths, but then coming out the corners, you go to put your foot down and there was just no grip there, whereas these guys were disappearing up the road. So yeah, it was good fun, but it is what it is.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on the third place. Cheers. Thank you. Anyway, next up, we've got the Radical Sports. See you in a second.
Yes, the Radical Bike Sports Championship cars are heading out onto the green flag lap for their second race of the weekend, final race of the weekend for these cars. Now, earlier on, we saw a race that was won by Leon Morel, but there was 4 drivers disqualified from that race, 3 of them for overtaking under safety car conditions. Those were Miles Drew, number 17, 57, Pedro Oliveira, and 60, Andrew Gord, and also number 93, Stephen Larkham. He was disqualified from the race for causing a collision. The grid for this second race then has on pole position number 77 Charles Hall, besides him number 1 Leon Morel. Second row is 55 Daniel Headlam and number 5 Doug Carter. Third row is 93 Stephen Larkham and 21 Charles Graham. Fourth row is 19 James Keevil and 12 Andrew Fido. Fifth row is 89 Shane Stoney and 17 Miles Drew. Sixth row is 11 Philip Brown and 60 Andrew Gord. On the 7th row, it's 2 Ross Board and 16 Laura Farrow, with 57 Pedro Oliveira and 66 Richard Hardy lining up at the back of the grid for another 25-minute race for the Radical Bike Sports Championship. And this is the pit stop race, the second race at each meeting as a pit stop with a mandatory 30-second pit stop, but there's penalties for those that have been successful in the preceding race. So we'll see how all of that pans out as the race goes on. Leon Morel it is that's leading the championship now, coming into this race after his success earlier on today. And the end of the rolling lap is arrived. The lights go out and the race gets underway, and it's going to be Leon Morel that takes the lead into the first corner of the race. Then we were supposed to have Charles Hall on pole position. I don't think he was actually there though, was he? So it is Leon Morel then that's gone off into the lead of the race, and already he has quite a few car lengths in hand over the car behind. They're all just sort of trying to shuffle into their correct order. There's the 57 car of Pedro Oliveira. He was one of those drivers that was pinged from the results for the first race for a breach of safety car regulations. Heading up the hill then they go. That is the 21 car making his way through. That's Charles Graham. He was in retirement from the first race, wasn't he? We had a bit of attrition in that first bike sports race earlier on in the day. Had a red flag and a restart as well. That's the 12 car of Andy Fido, just being edged a little bit wide there, and so it's going to be Miles Drew trying to make up a place on him. So lots of battling and jousting for positions here, Andy. And Shane Stoney in the 89 car, the yellow car, yellowy green car, is driving through all of them. Remarkable stuff.
Everyone else just getting tangled up with each other, and the seas parted for Shane Stoney. He kept his right foot buried and drove straight through the middle of them. So Shane Stoney coming through several places higher than we expected. There is a penalty, is there, for Doug Carter. A 10-second out of position start penalty for Doug Carter. Out of position on a rolling start can only really mean a jump start, essentially, can't it? But look at the way Shane Stoney's going. That was for the lead of the class, wasn't it? Round the outside of Stephen Larkham, into the lead of Class A already. Yep, and up into 4th position overall. Leon Morel, though, led at the end of lap 1 by nearly 3.2 seconds in car number 1 from 55 Daniel Headlam in 2nd place. There now is Larkham. He's also been passed by, who's that? Charles Graham? No, that can't be right, can it? Try and pick up who that was in a moment. There's the 57 car Pedro Oliveira. He was one of the drivers to watch in the first race. Very spectacular he was as he pushed on through with a car that was sometimes not seemingly handling as well as he would like it to. So if that's going to be a feature of this race as well. The 19 car Jamie Keevil, he was successful in the first race as a class winner.
in Class A, 3rd place overall as well. So he'll be looking to reprise some success from earlier on today.
Shane Stoney up the inside of Daniel Headlam. That's 2nd place overall, and he's set the fastest lap, a 1:06.8. That's about 2.5 seconds nearly quicker than Leon Morel. So never really got to see the best of Shane Stoney in the race earlier on, even before that mechanical drama that he had. But now he is unleashed, isn't he? And that Radical PR6 clearly looks to be in the ideal operating window. He's, what, 4.2 seconds or so behind Leon Morel, but I would not bet against him catching leader in this current form.
Absolutely right. Great sight these cars make and sound they make as they head up towards the right-hander, or the left-hander I should say, at Rocket Corner. That's 93 Larkham and 21 Graham. They're in different classes, of course. Charles Graham, the Daytona Motorsport boss, still in 4th place overall. He's got Pedro Oliveira now nipping at his heels as well. So Oliveira's already made up a couple of places on this lap. And he might get to the front of this group before too much longer. It's going very well indeed here. Of course, they do have these pit stops to serve in the middle part of the race. Shane Stoney's done the best lap of the race, a 1:05.999. Faster than anybody managed in the first race, interestingly enough. And that's despite the wind having picked up since then, which might just make conditions a little bit more tricky for some of the drivers.
Yeah, that's quicker by nearly a 10th, isn't it, than anything Leon Morel did in the earlier race. So clearly finding some pace. Maybe he had a niggly little issue that was sort of developing through that first race that eventually led to the non-finish. Now, side by side here towards Church Corner, that is Pedro Oliveira up the inside and gaining another position. That was Charles Graham that he was finding a way past. So Oliveira already ahead of Larkham. That's for 2nd place in Class A, but now getting up into 5th place overall. And now we see more side-by-side action as Charles Graham is really coming under assault here, isn't he? Stephen Larkham to the outside into Rocket also gains a place at the expense of car number 21, who then will lose another spot, I think, to the number 19 of James Keeville. So James Keeville, another driver coming from the back in, who has gained several places on this lap alone.
Yeah, he's really starring here, isn't he? As over the line has come Shane Stoney in 2nd place. He's taken another 7/10 out of Leon Morel that time. The gap down to 2.3 seconds between them. And in the pit stops, Leon Morel's going to have to be stationary for 40 seconds. He has a 10-second extra penalty to serve because he won race 1. But Shane Stoney will just have to be stationary for 30 seconds because he was a non-finisher in race 1. So Morel will have 40 seconds, Brown 38, Keeville 36, Fido 34, Carter 32, and the rest will just be a 30-second stop. And the pit window, with 5 minutes of the race gone, is now open.
Yes, and already I think a couple of teams were gesticulating to the drivers, either to notify them of that or to notify them that they want them in the pit lane. It is a valid strategy, that, especially if you're in this big gaggle of cars through the midfield. You're probably losing time in traffic. Maybe better to come in, pit, get into some clean air, do a bit of an undercut maybe against some of your opposition. That was very late on the brakes, too late on the brakes ultimately for the number 17. Miles Drew with a rotation at the top of the hill through Rocket, and that seemed to be self-inflicted really, didn't it there? He just couldn't get the car stopped, locked the rears, and around he went.
Absolutely right. So there is Leon Morel, another fastest lap from Shane Stoney, 1:05.864 he has now done. And that is another 6/10 he's made up on Leon Morel on that lap. So he's really, so 1.6 seconds he made up on Leon Morel on that lap. So he's going to be right with him. Well, he is right with him now, isn't he, as they head up towards Rocket Corner. This is on lap 6 of the race. They're almost together now. Leon Morel and Shane Stoney, who had to come through from a lowly grid position. He started on row 5 of the grid. Morel started on the front row of the grid. And they're right together now, only 6 laps into this race. They're in different classes. Shane Stoney in Class A and Leon Morel in Class B. Class A for the tuned engines, Class B for the more production-based motorcycle engines of up to 1500cc. As we're watching now, Charles Graham and Andy Fido. This is for 8th and 9th. Fido up the inside into the position. Meanwhile, we've got the lead change almost about to happen, I think. That what didn't quite happen at turn 1. Is it going to happen at the banking, we wonder? Shane Stoney not quite close enough to make it work there, but he did have a look up the inside going into target, and that didn't quite work out. So I think it's only a matter of time now, Andy, before Shane Stoney takes the lead of this race.
Suspect you're right. Daniel Headlam, by the way, is in the pit lane from 3rd place, so the first driver to come in and make this mandatory pit stop. So Daniel Headlam blinks first. He strangely was in clean air as well, so not quite sure why he's come in so early. Anyway, the leaders are up towards Rocket Corner, and they are side by side with Shane Stoney on the inside line. Can he stop the car? The answer is, well, sort of, but not within track limits, and so he hands the place straight back to Leon Morel. So Shane Stoney might be catching Leon pretty rapidly, but it's not going to be an easy job finding a way past the number 1 car, is it? Leon Morel, again, kept his cool there, kept his head, and managed to get the position back.
Stephen Larkham and Miles Drew also into the pit lane. Miles Drew, of course, straight after the spin he had up at Rocket as well, so possibly just using it as an opportunity to just check the car over as well before he goes back out into the race. This is for 9th and 10th position. Andrew Gordy, number 60, up behind the number 21 car of Charles Graham in these 2 big wide radicals, but no change of position there. You've got Richard Hardy and also Laura Farrow, the Formula Woman winner, right in behind them as well. So very close battle out for 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th positions. Philip Brown now into the pits as well.
Yep, and that's Stoney. That's Shane Stoney slowing. So Shane Stoney just as he was starting to apply the pressure to Leon Morel, and the 2nd place man is slowing. I think at about the same part of the circuit where he slowed in the earlier race to a retirement, and Shane Stoney will limp probably to the same place of retirement as he unfortunately endured in race 1, pulling onto that access road halfway up the school straight. But that is such a shame. Shane Stoney deserved a shot at a race win. We've been robbed, haven't we, of what was looking like a pretty entertaining battle for the win between himself and Leon Morel. But now Leon Morel let off the hook well and truly, and Shane Stoney does indeed pull into that access road halfway up the hill. In fact, no, he doesn't. He's staying on the track, but grinding to a halt. Hopefully he'll find a place of safety, and that won't necessitate a safety car.
Philip Brown's just headed back out into the race. He's going to pull... No, he's going to pull onto the grass. He's going to pull onto the short circuit link there, the club circuit link. Hopefully out of harm's way. He's going to try and get it back to the paddock, possibly. We'll see. Anyway, there we can see Leon Morel now into the pits. We can see on the inset there, Leon Morel, number 1, the race leader, into the pit lane. Now, of course, he's got this slightly longer stop to serve, but, of course, the threat was coming from Shane Stoney. That has now evaporated. So, actually, the 40-second stop may not harm him. You can see just in behind as well, Pedro Oliveira, who got himself up to 2nd place overall. He's also in the pit lane as well at the same time. He was 22 seconds behind. He's going to have a 30-second stop rather than a 40-second stop, so the gap might come down to 12 seconds. But it should still be a lead for Leon Morel, even with this extended pit stop.
Yes, I suspect you're probably right. Yes, Daniel Headlam, of course, is the highest-placed car to have stopped. Headlam just went across the line. And Daniel Headlam, where's he going to come out in relation to Leon Morel, I wonder? Well, up at Rocket, we've got the number 66 car here, and that is a car running all the way down in 12th place, actually, Richard Hardy, having made his pit stop. Turns down towards the corkscrew. But Leon Morel should, I agree with you, still retain this lead, having made his mandatory stop. Oliveira back out as well, and will now more than likely have James Keevil across the line as the leader. Yes, he's just behind, actually, the number 66 car on your screen, so James Keevil now leads the way. He is one of only about 5 drivers, though, who haven't yet been into the pit lane.
Yeah, so the majority of the drivers have made their stops now. Jamie Keevil it is, sometimes Lotus Elan racer, but has stayed out for the moment and is still on the circuit. So obviously quite a lot of changes in the timing tower, because many drivers have pitted and some have not. It will all settle itself down sooner or later. Ross Board now has come in as well in car number 2, the driver from Honiton in Devon. He's now made his stop as well from 5th position. Laura Farrow also is into the pits as well. There you can see the Ross Board car in pit lane. And that's the Radical SR3 XXR. He's got his visor up just momentarily. We need to just flip that back down before he can go back out into the race after this mandatory 30-second stop. He's waited for the signal. And yet, team counting him down, and off he goes back into the race, but I think he may have, yeah, he's needing some outside assistance there to get back into the race. That wasn't quite as slick as he might have hoped.
Quite easy to stall these cars, isn't it? We
Yeah.
saw that a couple of times earlier on this morning when a driver had a spin on track and then wasn't able to fire the car up. At least in the pit lane, you've got the assistance of your pit crew to push you out of the way. Right, so that leaves 3 drivers yet to stop then. Number 19, James Keevil leads the way. Number 12, Andy Fido in 2nd position. And in 3rd position, number 21, Charles Graham. Those 3 yet to stop. Liam Morel on your screen now, going through the first corner, is in 4th position. He has made a pit stop, and he's only 22 seconds off the lead anyway, so it would take quite a shocking turn of events if he didn't have a fairly healthy lead after the pit stops are all done. It is Daniel Headlam who's up into 2nd place of those that have stopped anyway, but 9.2 seconds back. So Daniel Headlam, in fairness, on the last lap was only a 1/10 of a second slower than Leon Morel, is at least up into a net 2nd place, I would imagine, once this all shakes out.
Yeah, Morel is 22 seconds behind the on-the-road leader, Jamie Keevil, so Keevil won't be able to keep that after a 30-second stop, plus the time it takes to get into and out of the pit lane as well. And there you can see the pit stops summarised on the screen there. Keevil, Fido and Graham, the only drivers that are still running that have yet to make their pit stop, and actually Keevil comes in even as I say that.
Yep, James Keevil in. Will he be followed by Andy Fido? No, so Fido goes through now to claim the race lead, at least for a lap or so. And we'll wait to see whether Charles Graham decides to do the same thing. Although actually Leon Morel's gone past Graham anyway on the track, so Morel up into, well, what will now be 2nd place on the road. And only 18 3/4 seconds behind the leader, but actually only 6 seconds behind Andy Fido, and he was 3 seconds, more than 3 seconds quicker than him on the previous lap. There's a screech of tyres from somewhere, that's where, and
it's up at Peel, isn't it?
Oh, it's Stephen Larkham.
Stephen Larkham that's had the spin. The Northern Irishman in his Radical PR6, the man from Carrickfergus. But yeah, he soon got going again, not too much time lost as a result of that. If things continue this way for Leon Morel, it's looking good for him in the championship. There's only 4 more rounds to go after this at Brands Hatch and Donington Park. It's only a 10-round championship this year, the bike sport, so more compact calendar. Try and improve the numbers on the grid of each round. And he'll have a healthy lead in the championship, I think, after this meeting, if things stay this way. It's a 10-round championship. I think drivers can drop their 2 worst scores at the end of the year. He's looking pretty good for the championship. So Andy Fido and Charles Graham still to make their stops. They are running out of time. Some gesticulation from the pit wall towards Charles Graham there to say, come in, my friend, and make your pit stop at the next available opportunity. So 3-second lead for Fido, but it's a false lead because Leon Morel has already made his stop and Fido hasn't. We're seeing the 21 car of Charles Graham. He still needs to come in as well. He's 13 seconds behind Fido and just a little bit ahead of Headlam, who's going to try and make a move here into Rocket if he can. He's got 11 Phil Brown behind him as well. Brown might try to take them both. No, it's Headlam that gets ahead of Graham. Brown follows him through. Yep, so Headlam then up into 3rd place with that move, but crucially, Brown going with him because both he and Headlam have pitted. So the 55 and the 11 car battling genuinely here for what will become 2nd place. So this is a significant battle. It's also nose to tail for the notional race lead heading through target. Leon Morel on the tail of Andy Fido, who, as we keep saying, owes us a pit stop, but even so, he will want to try and stay in front for as long as he can there up at the banking. As Headlam comes across the line now up into 3rd position, Phil Brown behind him and Charles Graham into the pit lane. So Charles Graham does now make his mandatory stop. Out of the window, I can tell you Leon Morel has gone past Andrew Fido. So Leon Morel now leads the race, with Fido still owing us that stop. But a good battle here for what will become 2nd place, Ian. Yeah, absolutely right. So Headlam it is, and Brown separated by only a car length or so. As Charles Graham sitting there in the pits. He's going to drop well back down the order once his stop has been completed. The man from Daytona Motorsport, the karting circuits, as we're watching the 2 go wheel to wheel, and it's Brown that goes through on the inside at Rocket Corner. It seems a relatively late move, that, but he did in the end get through, and cleanly as well. There was no contact between them, so it's now Brown ahead of Headlam, and that is for what will become second place overall, and of course within the class as well.
Yeah, beautiful move that, wasn't it? Yes, it was late, came from a long way back, but he got the car stopped on the apex, didn't run wide into the other car, and that was a lovely bit of driving there from Philip Brown. So Philip Brown into third position. As we've said, that will become second place once Andrew Fido pits. I hope someone's told Andrew that this is a pit stop race. I know the pit window's still open, but he's certainly taking it right to the end of that pit window at the moment, with only 7 3/4 minutes just under that now to go. As we focus here on Doug Carter, who has got Miles Drew right behind him. In fact, nearly had Miles Drew up the inside into the middle part of the corkscrew. This is the battle for 8th position then for the time being, and Doug Carter in the little PR6 staying ahead, but for how much longer? Miles Drew to the inside into target corner, but so difficult actually to make that move stick on the inside line and to keep the momentum going, especially against a car like the Radical PR6, which we know has brilliant mid-corner speed, and Doug Carter used that to his advantage.
It's a good on-track scrap, but of course there's a 5-second penalty to be applied to, 10-second penalty to be applied to Doug Carter at the end of the race for that out-of-position start. So it's a little bit false. Still the pit wall for Andy Fido, literally waving the stop board. You know, it's a day-glow stop board. You cannot miss it. And it's being gesticulated furiously by the team there. And eventually, I think he's going to get the message and hopefully come in at the end of this lap, because it probably is going to be the last opportunity. He's going to have to do that before the pit window closes. Anyway, Carter and Miles Drew for 7th on the road, still battling away. So we've got 6.5 minutes left. Down through the corkscrew comes this particular battle. There is the 19 car of Jamie Keevil. He is running in 3rd in the class at the moment. I think that will come 2nd in the class. I think it's Pedro Oliveira actually that's looking good for the class victory here, and Keevil for 2nd. 23 seconds between them, so that's quite a race this for Oliveira.
Would have been very different, of course, if Shane Stoney's car hadn't expired, but still, you've got to be in it to win it, as they say. And yes, that is going to be a good result for Pedro Oliveira. His day has certainly improved as it's gone on, I think that's fair to say. Right, is Andy Fido coming in? Yes, he is. Andy Fido into the pit lane finally, so from 2nd place, a big lock-up, and someone on the grass, I think, going up towards Rocket Corner, just ahead of these two. So that would have been James Keevil. Yes, it was. Keevil lost control, I think, going into Rocket, and his car now stationary on the side of the track. Now, has he stalled it? I fear the answer might be yes. And if that's the case, I don't see him leaving that car there.
Yeah, it's not going to happen, I don't think, is it? No. So Keevil seemingly in a rather prone position. There's 5 minutes of this race left to go, and I can't see them. Yeah, he's getting out of the car now. I can't see the race officials wanting to leave that there. Headlam now has got a 16-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So that means that he is going to drop back quite considerably. Drew has got himself ahead of Carter here in the battle for position, although it's a bit of a fake battle for position, given that Carter's got the penalty.
16 seconds is a strangely precise number for a speeding penalty, isn't it?
I think it is linked to how much he was speeding by. Yeah, I think it's 2 times the number of kilometres per hour over that you were, I think, from memory.
So 8 kilometres over, presumably. The safety car then being scrambled. There it is, ready to be scrambled. And this will possibly take us to the end of the race now. We're only 4.5 minutes away from checkered flag. And that car's going to take a couple of laps, I would have thought, to get moved out of the way based on what we've seen earlier on in the day. It takes a lap sometimes for the safety car to get out on track. So there is James Keevil catching his breath after what looked like a fairly scary moment, to be honest. I heard it, then caught the end of it out of the window. He was backwards going into Rocket. So a brake failure or just a brake lockup, I'm not sure. But either way, a scary part of the track to lose control.
Yeah, absolutely. Not what you want to be doing. But fortunately, he's out of the car now. The car is still on the edge of the circuit there. Up at Rocket, and with only 4 minutes of the race to go, I suspect there's probably a fairly limited chance of seeing too much more green flag action in this race. So it'll just be interesting to see how the officials deal with this one. There's the safety car heading out onto circuit. It is going to head on track just in front of some of the back markers, which it will wave through and then pick up Leon Morel. But with only 3.5 minutes to go, that's at most 2 safety car laps and a car to be recovered. I rather suspect that might effectively be the end of the bike sports race in terms of any position changes.
I think you might be right, which is a bit of a shame, but to be fair, most of the battles I think had been more or less resolved, really, hadn't they? Miles Drew had gone past Doug Carter, Pedro Oliveira pretty much secure in the lead of Class A, Leon Morel definitely secure in the overall and Class B lead, and wasn't really looking all that likely to be beaten. So that's not the point, of course. They would have liked to have carried on at full speed to the flag, but I doubt it would have changed the outcome of the race too significantly. So up the school straight they go, and yeah, 2 3/4 minutes to go. So by the time they get round this time, they're going to have probably less than a safety car lap time to go, aren't they?
Exactly, and there's no move yet being made to recover that car. So still yellow flags and safety car. The vehicle is now heading out onto circuit to collect the car. Just needs to wait for another couple of cars to come past it, but I do wonder if that yellow flag might be exchanged for a different flag by the time the safety car gets back round. We'll see what happens. The 2 minutes of the race to go, but no prospect now of any more racing here, unfortunately, with the Jamie Keevil car stationary, the ex-Robert Rees car stationary at the exit of Rocket, or the first part of Rocket in any case. Convincing win really would have been for Leon Morel. Obviously the gap will come down now with the safety car having been scrambled, but it was sort of 17 seconds he was ahead at the end of the last completed lap. There's the recovery truck now heading onto the circuit to collect Jamie Keevil's car. Safety car's just coming through the corkscrew, and it does look as if they are going to take it all the way to the end with one more lap to go, which will happen behind the safety car. I did wonder if we might see the checkered flag that time around, but no, they have opted to continue with this. So Bike Sports Championship, but still got 2 more meetings to go. They will come at Brands Hatch and at Donington Park to complete the season. Leon Morel will be in a commanding position in the championship going into those final 4 minutes. Let's have a look. What have we got to see here? Well, a replay of some earlier events in the race. Let's have a look at this. This is up at Rocket Corner. Here is Stephen Larkham and Jamie Keevil, but actually we're watching what happened. Yes, that's the Miles Drew spin. That was in the first half of the race, and he made his pit stop immediately after that. Then we've got Andy Fido out braking himself up at Rocket as well. And is this what we're going to see for... Yeah, this is Daniel Headlam and Philip Brown coming up the inside of him. Now, this didn't quite work on this occasion. He did have another go a little bit further on into the race and eventually did get the move done. Perhaps we'll see that as well. Here it is. Yeah, up the inside. Yeah, and that was Philip Brown getting second place in the race away from Daniel Headlam. So safety car orders still here. Yellow flag waving. Checkered flag is being prepared because the cars are going to get no more racing in. Are they going to bring the safety car into the pit lane and wave it there? No, they can't really because where Parc Ferme is at this circuit. So they're going to have to take them over the line on the circuit, which will cost a little bit more time, but with this recovery still ongoing, it's not really going to make a lot of difference. So down through Peel they come for the final time. Leon Morel, yeah, just a 3-second lead now that they're behind the safety car rather than the nearly 20-second lead that it was beforehand. Shame that any race finishes like this, Andy.
It is, always. We'd like to see them running, like I said, at speed to the checkered flag, but also just because you never quite know what could happen, you know, if we were still at green flag pace. But hey, Leon Morel won't mind. It's, I believe, a 5th win of the year, this now, at least within his class, and Leon Morel will thank his lucky stars, because I think it could have been a very different story had Shane Stoney not had his issues earlier on.
Yeah, so Leon Morel takes the win then in number 1. Second goes the way of number 11, Philip Brown. Third to number 55, Daniel Headlam. No, that switches. It all switches around now. Let's let's wait for this timing tower to sort itself out. So yeah, Morel, Brown, then Oliveira third, and he wins Class A. Drew 4th, Larkham 5th, Fido 6th. Carter and Headlam both had penalties in the end. Car to renew was for a last position start. Headland presumably for track limits incurred during the course of that race. Let's have a look at the classification. Number 1, Leon Morel, the winner at the end of 20 laps of racing. In number 1 in the Radical SR3 RSX. Second, number 11, Philip Brown, he was 2.5 seconds behind, although that's a little bit false because we had the safety car running at the end. Third, number 57, Pedro Oliveira, his first win in Class A. Fourth, number 17, Miles Drew, despite a spin. Fifth, number 93, Stephen Larkham. Sixth, number 12, Andy Fido. Seventh, number 60, Andrew Gord. Eighth, number 5, Doug Carter. Ninth, 55, Daniel Headlam. And 10th, number 21, Charles Graham, at the head of Richard Hardy, Ross Board and Laura Farrow, with no other finishes. 13 cars making it to the checkered flag, and they're heading around now behind the safety car, and they'll head into Parc Ferme. And I say the next meeting for the bike sports cars is at Brands Hatch. That's in late August, on the Saturday of the August bank holiday weekend, and then Donington Park in is it September or October for the final round of the championship. But either way, just 2 more meetings to go in the Bike Sports Championship, Radical Bike Sports Championship. Leon Morel in a very strong position in that championship now, with a couple of wins here today at Anglesey Circuit. We've got 3 more races to go this afternoon here, or this evening. Yes, it is evening now. We're after 6 o'clock here at Anglesey Circuit. Coming up next, we've got the Armed Forces Race Challenge. You can see the cars lined up in the assembly area ready for that. And then we've got the K-Tech Racing Clio Sport Championship and the 116 Sprint Trophy and the 120 Coupe Cup. Which is going to be the first race of the weekend for the Clios, the second and final race of the weekend for the Armed Forces Race Challenge cars and the BMWs. So it's still heading down to Parc Ferme are the cars at the end of the bike sports race. Obviously they're behind the safety car, so it's a little bit of a slower operation than normally it is. But in a moment we'll have them heading into Parc Ferme, and hopefully Kieran Mogg will be on hand to grab anyone who'll talk to him really, but certainly be good to hear from our class winners, in particular Pedro Oliveira. Hopefully we'll get a chance to hear from him, because he's gone from 0 to hero there, because he was disqualified from the first race for overtaking under the safety car. It looks like he's going to bounce back with a class win in the second race, and good news for Mattel. Things not working out for Charles Hall's car this weekend, but Pedro Oliveira taking a win and still a relative newcomer to racing as well. So those cars heading into Parc Ferme now. We'll hopefully hear from drivers very shortly indeed. Then we'll get the cars out onto the circuit for the final 3 races of the day. There's still some recovery work to be done. Shane Stoney's car, I think, has been brought in, but Jamie Keevill's car still being coaxed onto the back of the flatbed up there at Rocket, before that is brought back down into the paddock area. And we've got, say, 3 races left to go this evening, and we will have those in just a moment. But first, let's head down to Parc Ferme and we'll hear from Kieran Mogg once again.
Well, this car right here has quite clearly been the class of the field today, and the driver, Leon Morel. Oh, sorry, do apologise. 2 wins from 2 races. You couldn't ask for more than that.
No, literally couldn't, could we? I don't know what to say. Yeah, speechless. Car was just brilliant all weekend. Top job by all the team. Mega engine, great support from RGM Motorsport when we need them. Great event, lovely weather, mega track. What's not to like?
You're on an absolute high today, and it's clear to see why. So you enjoyed the day so far, you know, and has the car been on the track? Have you enjoyed the track?
Yeah, I mean we've had a couple of problems this year, to be fair. Electrical, we've worked him out. The car is on kill mode. It's been perfect all day. Allowed me to sort of manage, you know, if I got a bit of a gap and it needed to be picked up a little bit, I could do. Had a great battle with Shane. It's a shame he failed to finish, because I was really enjoying that. But yeah, no, just I couldn't wish for a better car today. It was perfect, to be honest. So, yeah.
Well, congratulations on an amazing day.
No worries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Family and friends as well who've been here supporting me.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. We'll speak to our second place man, Philip Brown. Philip, just 2.5 seconds off the lead.
Another 2 laps, I'd have had him. His tyres had gone, I know it.
Other than obviously that 2.5 second gap, how was the car feeling out there?
It was great, yeah. I mean, I had an off yesterday at church, so I lost a bit of confidence this morning, and I managed to get it back and got the old adrenaline going, and just needed a couple of laps. But yeah, enjoyed it. Nice to get through without any contact. So
Absolutely, absolutely.
I'll take that home and a car to put in the trailer.
100%. Do you reckon you could take him next time? Do you reckon you can take him next time?
I'm working on it, but I've got age against me, haven't I? 62.
It's only a number.
That's only a number, yeah. I've got an engine rebuild, so if they can work some magic, that'd be great. Please, Richard.
Well, look forward to seeing that then.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. And we'll speak to our third place man and also our Class A winner, Pedro. Congratulations on the win. How was it out there?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah, it was tricky at the start, obviously, because I started right at the back, but I managed to get my way through the grid pretty quickly. Decided to do an early stop. Stop was pretty good, I think, and then yeah, from there I had no one in front of me until the safety car. So yeah, safety car took us to the end of the race, and yeah, that was pretty good in my head. Yeah.
Excellent. And in terms of circuit, is Anglesey one of the tracks you enjoy?
Yeah, it's a nice circuit. It was my first time here this weekend, actually, so yeah, it's quite nice. That downhill bit is very narrow, which I found it was a bit like a go-kart track. So yeah, I did enjoy it. It's a nice track.
You couldn't ask for really more on your first visit to Anglesey for your first win here as well?
Yeah, that was pretty good. Couldn't ask for more.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, congratulations then.
Thank you.
Cheers, thank you very much. Anyway, we're going to quickly go to an ad break, and then coming up next is the Armed Forces. We'll see you in a second.
And the green flag lap getting underway for the Armed Forces Race Challenge. It's the second race of the day for these cars. Grid reflects back to the qualifying times from earlier on though. So let's have a look at how it lines up. Pole position is going to be Louis Woodward in that fantastic BMW M235R that he was telling us about after the first race. Beside him is number 65 Mark White. Second row, number 12 David Russell, and number 1 Jonathan Candler. Third row is 113, which is Paul Chapman, and number 7 Kieran Lambourne. On the fourth row of the grid, it's 8 Phil England in the Subaru, and 18 Trevor Hancock, although he was a 16, I should say, Trevor Hancock, although he was retirement earlier on. Row 5 to 30 Paul Waterhouse, and 6 Doug Inglis. Row 6, 51 Ian Cooper, and 48 Mike Nash. On the 7th row of the grid, 26 Gareth Moss, another one who was out of the race earlier, and 444 Richard Phillips. The 8th row of the grid, 35 Richard Brown and 64 Harry Townsend. Row 9 is 88 Adam Stanbury and 44 Gemma Barnsdale. Row 10 of the grid, 187 Samuel Copeland and 28 Luke Carpino. Row 11, 22 Paul Meller and 110 Frank Hall. Row 12 is 92 Jack Squires and 14 Peter McNichol. 13th row of the grid is 300 Ewan Evans and 72 Andrew Holmes, with on the 14th and final row, number 4 Mel Highland and 43 Matthew Beach. Oh, there is one more row as well, 69 Charlie Spice and 96 Ben McLaughlin. So that's how they're going to line up then. 30 cars scheduled to be there. We had 27 finishes from the first race, which was won by Louis Woodward in that BMW by 3.5 seconds from Mark White in second place. Woodward also winning Class B. Class C won by David Russell. Class A by Phil England in the Subaru Impreza. In Class D by Douglas Inglis in the Mazda MX-5. I think all of the drivers out there were saying that Louis Woodward is going to be tough to beat in this sort of ex-BMW manufacturer car in sort of BMW colours there. But Mark White will do his best to take the fight to, I'm sure, in that Honda Civic Type R, the Army Motorsport Joran Black number 65 car that joins it on the front of the grid. Then the second row, you've got David Russell and Jonathan Candler, both very successful drivers within Class C. Russell having won all of the Class C races so far this season, but Candler, last year's champion, and second in the points coming into this weekend was, as we said earlier on, the points decided by performance index rather than sort of actual on-track finishing position in the Armed Forces Race Challenge, just to try and give everyone a shot of success. There are some gaps on the grid, I can see. Phil England has no space next to him where Trevor Hancock should be, but looking further back, it's looking pretty complete actually. So most of the 30 cars are there. 5-second board has been shown, red lights are on, and they go out. And there's a fantastic start by Phil England in the four-wheel drive Subaru. He's got himself up into second place this time, so an even better start than he made to the first race. But it is the BMW of Louis Woodward that leads the race. It's Phil England second, Mark White third, David Russell fourth, Jonathan Candler fifth. And who's that in sixth place? I think it's Kieran Lambourne in sixth position in the BMW 330 as well, as they turn their way through Church Corner for the first time. Then Phil England already has Mark White right behind him. See if White can get ahead before too much longer. And already good battles developing down the order as well. I can see Kieran Lambourne and Jonathan Candler had a great scrap in race one, already getting back together in race two. But there's the fight for second, just about heading into... Oh, and Phil England's outbraked himself, I'm afraid. So he's dropped back from second to fourth. Mark White goes through to P2.
Yes, that's a bit of a shame for Phil, but good news for Mark, really, because if he's going to have any chance of chasing after Louis Woodward, he really did not need to be stuck behind the Subaru for too long. So, yes, managed to get that place back fairly easily. Oh, bit of side-by-side MX-5 action here at PLS. I'm sure I saw these two side-by-side on the opening lap in the earlier race too. The number 26 car aiming to gain the position. Gareth Moss, who was a non-finisher in race one earlier on today. The white Mark 1 Mazda MX-5 has the inside line for the middle part of the corkscrew complex, and I think will get the place. Yes, he does, just about. Over the number 6 example of Doug Inglis. So Doug Inglis has to give that place away, although actually he's back up the inside again into target corner and will reclaim the position off camera. They're just about to appear in sight. There they are, and it is Doug Inglis back in front. So good little battle between those two, with Doug Inglis managing to hang on to 9th place, but still leading his class, of course, even if Gareth Moss were to find a way through. But Louis Woodward, 1.2 seconds up the road from Mark White at the end of that opening lap. Has Mark White got an answer for him this time?
We'll have to wait and see as this MX-5 battle continues. Moss on the outside line of Inglis. They're in different classes. Inglis is the Class D car, Moss in a Class C car, so power to weight ratio slightly in his favour, and he's ahead now of Inglis as they head up the climb towards Rocket. Just behind them they've got Paul Waterhouse, number 230 in the blue Peugeot 306, and just behind him, well, that'll be the Daewoo. It's Ian Cooper in the Nexia, and he's in 12th place. Luke Arpino 13th at the moment, but this Mazda MX-5 battle still continuing. For the lead, I can tell you that Mark White is going with Louis Woodward this time. The gap only half a second between them, and White on the first flying lap has done the best lap of the race so far, 1:17.810, which is a tenth or so faster than he managed in the first race.
Yeah, well, remember, in the latter stages of race one, Mark White was just creeping back towards Louis Woodward, and at the time we sort of put it down mainly to traffic, but I wonder whether Mark White found something in the end of that race with his driving, his lines, approach to certain corners, whatever it was, and he's now applying that early stages in this race, because look, he's definitely providing more of a threat here to Louis Woodward than he did in race one. Now, equally, Louis may just be pacing himself at the moment. He's done a 1:18.5, which is, I should point out, about 1 3/4 seconds slower than he went in the race earlier on. So there's more pace to be had from Woodward. White is perhaps delivering a bit better than he did early stages in race one, but either way, it's keeping them a lot closer together this time.
It certainly is. Woodward then in this left hocker BMW ahead of Mark White in the right-hand drive Type R, dropping down through the corkscrew again for the third time in this race. Gap back then to David Russell, who's on his own really in the Class C BMW there. Ben McLaughlin, now he started right at the back of the grid. Where is he up to? Trying to spot him on the order. He's up to 14th position now, so he is, yes, he's got stuck into this scrap. Oh, and Mel Highlands had a moment, and one of the other 116 is also involved there. Possibly Highlands going to just pull off onto the grass there, up at Rocket Corner, and possibly leave the car there, which is only just off the circuit. So yes, Ben McLaughlin, he's just behind the Nexia. He's alongside the number 28 Mazda MX-5 as well, for Luke Arpino. Quite a lot of damage to the door there, so I do suggest that the two 116s got themselves together up at Rocket, Andy.
And a tyre off the rim as well, I think, on the right
okay.
front corner, and the back right didn't look much healthier either, so that's been fairly substantial contact between the two. And Mel Highland limping back around, just in front of the race leaders, I believe now, who are also up at that area of the circuit. Meanwhile, Paul Waterhouse in the Class C Peugeot battling away here with the Daewoo, isn't he? Or just behind the Daewoo anyway, heading up the hill towards the Rocket Complex. And there, the very rapidly driven MGB, the number 72 car that really came on strong in the second half of the earlier race, also becoming a factor in this one, that being Andrew Holmes, who of course was second in Class A in that race earlier on. Townsend there getting squeezed out by one of the 116s at the top of the hill. As, again, this mix of different cars, many of them running across different classes, creates some very close quarters situations up at the Rocket and Peel end of the circuit. Difficult sometimes as a driver actually to identify exactly who you're racing with for position and who is not actually in your class. Meanwhile, a car stopped in, that's Jack Squires, I think.
That's right, Jack Squires, the 32-year-old Royal Navy diver from the Isle of Wight, in his first season of racing, sadly out of the race. So we've got nearly 14 minutes of the race left to go here at Anglesey, the second of two Armed Forces Race Challenge races of the day. There's the 110 car going through. That's Frank Hall in his bereaved Mazda MX-5. We've got two Mazda MX-5s with a hard top on here, because we've got Dougie Inglis as well. There's the Jack Squires car in 26th position that has parked up, so he's tumbling down the timer screen now as other drivers make it through. And there's the 14 car. That's Peter McNichol, the 67-year-old from Mablethorpe. The MGB is up on the inside of the Daewoo, and likely combination if ever there was one, but has taken the place. And so that is for 14th position, the MGB, which is now in Class A, recategorised from the programme, is now ahead of the Nexia podded Astra GTE.
Yep, so good little battle there as they drop down into the corkscrew. Overall race leaders, by the way, just heading up the school straight at the moment. 2.5 seconds now between them, so you're not missing anything at the front of the field. That gap actually starting to creep out now, much as it did really in the middle part of the opening race. Out across the line comes this eclectic mix of cars. Renault Clio, we've got Peugeot 106, the MGB, the Daewoo, and a Mazda MX-5 all in a line. And that Mazda MX-5 at the back of the queue is the number 28 car, isn't it then, which is now joining in the battle. And looking to try and gain a place heading into the banking. Luke Arpino in his Mazda MX-5 that runs in Class D. He was actually on the podium in race 1 in Class D, second place within his class. Arpino not running, he is running second in class again actually. Richard Phillips, some way behind him, is in third, but looking here to try and gain a bit more ground in the overall running order if he can. 12
minutes of the race left, and Andrew Holmes in the MGB is ahead now of Paul Waterhouse, trying to see if he can climb any more places up the order. The next car ahead of him is, I think, Ben McLaughlin, who's also been on a climb up through the field. So it might be a bit tougher to try and grab onto the back of him. Holmes has done a battle for 124.9, McLaughlin 125.4. So actually Holmes is capable of lapping marginally quicker. So we'll see if he can claw any more ground back before the end of this race. Louis Woodward, meanwhile, is leading by 2.8 seconds now over Mark Wise in second place. So it's 87 from 65, and David Russell, number 12, is in third place, 12 seconds behind the leader, comfortably leading Class C, and Phil England likewise comfortably leading Class A in number 8, 4th place overall. There is a challenge for position. That was Paul Waterhouse being threatened by Ian Cooper, and Luke Arpino right there as well now. So a good little scrap this going on. Arpino trying to take the wide line around the outside of the Nexia of Ian Cooper at the banking, and it seemingly worked for him. So Arpino, number 28, goes up a position. He's on the outside line now, though, for Church Corner, but I think manages to hold on. Paul Waterhouse in the blue Peugeot, still ahead of them both. But a great little scrap this between the Daewoo Nexia and the Mazda MX-5. Up towards the left-hander at Rocket goes Luke Arpino, a workshop fabricator in the RAF. Been racing since 2019. He was the AFRC novice winner last year, and he's a cousin of Nick Grindrod, the successful racer in a variety of categories. I think he's done Genettas, I think he's racing pickups, Westfields as well down the years. So racing continues here into the second half of this Armed Force race challenge now. There's Jonathan Candler, and much as he was in race 1, having a good scrap with Kieran Lambourne.
Yeah, this has been the story of the day, really, hasn't it, between these two? They're fighting for second in class as well. Second in class C, that will be. The BMW versus the Peugeot. The BMW a bit too late on the brakes at Rocket, but Candler not ultimately able to get alongside on this occasion. Little Peugeot snapping at the heels of the big BMW. Has he got to run up the inside into Peel? Thinking about it maybe, but Kieran Lambourne gets into the corner first. So this 5th overall, but as I said, for class podium positions. And Candler keen to try and make the move. And as he drops down through the corkscrew, this perhaps would be a part of the circuit you'd expect the Peugeot to have the edge at. He does get up the inside there through the second part of the corkscrew. Is he still alongside as they arrive at the last corner? The answer is sort of. Tries to get the exit, but no, the BMW with that rear-wheel drive traction able to keep the position. So just under 9 minutes of the race to go, and still Kieran Lambourne retaining 5th position, but Jonathan Candler certainly keeping the pressure on.
Yeah, indeed. So this is for 5th and 6th place. It's for 2nd place within Class C as well. The BMW 330 and the Peugeot 306. Jonathan Candler, 31 years of age, from Tidworth. Kieran Lambourne, 25, from Calne. Candler with several years more experience, though, than Lambourne. He's under threat now as Lambourne from Candler on the run up towards Rocket, but not able to do anything about him at the moment, it would seem. Turning their way through Rocket, the left and then the right-hand part of that complex. Out of it they come. Luke Wood was just in the best lap of the race, actually, 1:16.976. Not as quick as he went in race 1 when he did a 1:16.819, but it shows he is getting away now from Mark White to the tune of more than 4 seconds.
Yeah, this was about the point in race 1 where Mark started to reel the leader back in, but there's just no sign of that in this one, is there? Mark White actually steadily starting to fade a little bit. Of course, the Honda Civic front-wheel drive, sometimes those front-wheel drive cars, especially in warmer conditions, can use their tyres up a little bit harder than the rear-wheel drive BMW, for example. Maybe that's playing into it, not so sure. Perhaps something that Kieran Mogg can ask of Mark White after the race, but meanwhile, the Kieran Lambourne and Jonathan Candler battle continues on through the banking. Candler close to the BMW. He has been close to the BMW for much of the day, but just can't find a way past. If he can get a really good run through Church Corner, there could be an opportunity to overtake at the top of the hill, but I'm not convinced he's close enough, Ian.
No, I think you may well be right about that, Andy. Oh, on the grass there briefly was Kieran Lambourne. As he was just passing the number 300 car of Ewan Evans, who's leading the Graduates Championship coming into this weekend. Various bits of bodywork there being run over by the cars as they go through as well. He's also going past the another BMW there as they turn their way through Peel Corner and out towards the corkscrew section of the circuit, with 6.5 minutes of the race left to go. There we've got the Subaru of Phil England. He's in 4th position at the moment. And here is the battle for 5th and 6th. Number 1, Jonathan Candler. Number 113, Paul Chapman. Start again. 7, Kieran Lambourne. 1, Jonathan Candler. Much further back is 113, Paul Chapman. He's about 8 seconds behind them, but this is the battle of the race at the moment.
It is, isn't it? They're the two closest cars really together, battling for position anyway. This, meanwhile, is Phil England, leading in Class A. After that terrific start that he had, as you'd expect, really, from, I think, the only four-wheel drive car on the grid, but the gaps all opened up perfectly for him to really capitalise on that. I seem to recall him doing this in one of the races at Alton Park as well, and then really holding his own, actually, once he gained all of those positions. Bear in mind, he started on, I think, the 4th row of the grid, so doing really well to still be sat in 4th position overall, and he's found himself a nice, clear bit of racetrack, just logging some nice, consistent laps that'll serve him well in the points after the race, and also could potentially net him a really good overall result too.
That's right, definitely worth keeping an eye on Phil. He's driving really well here, and after the issues on the first lap of the race, he's been pretty untroubled from what we've been able to see. Into the last quarter of the race then, as the Lambourne and Candler battle that was just coming through. England turning his way again in that Army Motorsport car through Target, and appropriate that we have the Armed Forces Race Challenge here at Anglesey Circuit with its military connections, an army base as it was here. We've got RAF Valley just up the road from Anglesey Circuit as well. So plenty of military connections here on the island.
So Phil England continues on his way and is 4.5 minutes away from at least securing one victory for England today. Might be the only one that they get from what I'm hearing, but Phil England is some way ahead of the rest of his class runners. In fact, is one of the only Class A cars really entered into the field. Andrew Holmes the next nearest in the MGB GT. But this battle continues to rage on. 5th position. Say battle, I mean, as close as Candler gets, he's just not really able to show his nose into any of the obvious overtaking opportunities. This is where he closes every lap, gets a good run off Rocket, but then just no way to really get up the inside into Peel Corner.
No, doesn't seem to be able to do anything about him there, does he? So, we are into the closing stages of this race. I mean, outright, Louis Woodward is extending his lead still over Mark White, 6.6 seconds. It now is between those two, and then they're 19 seconds clear, but we've got this battle still going on for 5th place. Kieran Lambourne in the BMW, Jonathan Candler in the Peugeot. It was right at the last lap it was decided by Lapry, wasn't it, in race 1, when they went either side of, I think it was Gemma Barnsdale up at Rocket Corner, and that effectively decided the first race in favour of Jonathan Candler. I wonder if we're going to see something similar here in the closing stage of the race. I'm sure there'll be some more traffic to come into play before too much longer. Just rounding Church Corner now. There are certainly slower cars up ahead of them, but there's not much to choose between these two. Less than 3 minutes to go now, as I'm watching Mike Nash just go past my commentary box window. He's doing battle with Doug Inglis for position. It's the final place inside the top 10 as well. Inglis looking good for another Class D victory here. Out of Rocket towards Peel they will head, and then we'll watch them drop back down towards the end of the lap. Here's Phil England again, and he's been lapping some more back markers since we last saw him in that yellow Subaru, the number 8 car for the 45-year-old project manager from Louth. 2-litre turbo engine in the 1997 car. He had it initially as a road car. Did some sprints in it as well.
Doug Inglis, by the way, did eventually get past Mike Nash, not at the first corner, but up at Rocket in the end. He almost got it done at turn 1, but Mike Nash able to fend him off until they got to the top of the hill. Is that where maybe Jonathan Candler might be able to make his move? There's a back marker ahead. Well, this was certainly something that benefited him in the closing stages of the earlier race. And is it going to be the same case now in race number 2 then? Up the hill they go. They're both going to sweep to the inside of that particular BMW 116 though, and Jonathan Candler not really close enough, I don't think, to make his move yet. Through the left, through the right, minute and a quarter to go. Now the leader is on the back straight. We're going to get another lap after this one. Here comes Candler though with that good exit from Rocket. He's on the inside into Peel Corner, and this is the one part of the circuit where he seems to have the edge over the BMW, and he makes it count. Jonathan Candler going through then, and finally, after lap after lap after lap of trying, he's found a way past Kieran Lambourne into 5th place overall and 2nd in the class.
Yeah, it's not taken the direct intervention of a back marker to achieve that this time, so he's dropped it back down through the corkscrew again, and he is going to start his penultimate lap of the race. Now, as Andy says, we're going to get one more lap to go at the end of the one that the leader has started. Actually, he's almost at the end of now. He's heading down through the corkscrew himself, is Louis Woodward in that number 87 BMW, and he is about to see the last lap board. That is shown to him now. So Louis Woodward goes on to his final lap of the race, and he's well in control of this now. Mark White in 2nd place. I think he's realised that the race is up. He's not really been able to challenge for outright position. He's still 6 seconds behind in this race. And as you can see, Jonathan Candler now has got ahead of Kieran Lambourne. He has put several lengths between the two of them.
Yes, he has. Up the hill then, we head once again into the closing stages of the race. Louis Woodward is on his way to victory, it would seem. Out of the corner of my eye, I just saw a massive group of cars going through Rocket just ahead of this particular BMW 116. I think they all survived that, but they were 3 abreast at the apex, which was pretty entertaining to see, even from a distance. This was the group that I was watching, and yeah, they're all still there, I think. Is that Kieran Lambourne in that group? Maybe. I think it might have been. But anyway, Louis Woodward not having to face the late challenge from Mark White that it looked like he might have to in the earlier race, and instead well on his way to another comfortable victory.
Yeah, so out of Peel he goes, down through the corkscrew, who will come left and then right and then left, back onto the start and finish straight. Short straight though it is. And checker flag is made ready. And oh, he spun it!
Oh,
he spun coming out of the final corner and he's crashed into the pit wall. That's unbelievable. Can he get to the line first? Mark White's coming out of the final corner, up to the line to go. And Mark White wins the Armed Forces Race Challenge with a dramatic spin for Louis Woodward into the pit wall at the final corner as he got it going again. And it was a drag race. And Mark White did it by half a second.
That is unbelievable. He had it in the bag. He was 6 seconds up the road from anybody else and threw it away at the last corner. Mark White, as Mark White came out of that final corner, he would not have believed what he was seeing. That is truly remarkable.
No, that's one way to throw a race, isn't it?
And that shiny new BMW that he had as well. And I don't think it's quite as shiny now as it was at the start of the day.
I think at least the part of the pit wall he hit was protected by tyres rather than the concrete barrier itself. Anyway, Mark White's won that race, number 65 from number 87, Louis Woodward in 2nd. Dave Russell, number 12 in 3rd. 8, Phil England was 4th. Then Jonathan Candler 5th. And Kieran Lambourne 6th. They're still coming over the line. Yes, there they go. Jonathan Candler and Kieran Lambourne. None of them have driven into the pit wall. And Paul Chapman, I think, is going to be the last car home in 7th place in a moment or two. Here he comes now in his Clio. But yeah, that's not what we were expecting there, was it? Not at all.
I mean, I'm not going to say I've never seen it before. It has been known, hasn't it? But very rarely do you see a driver throw a win away like that. And Louis Woodward was displayed already this weekend. What a talented driver he is. But maybe a momentary lapse of concentration. I have noticed that car getting a bit sideways off the last corner, off that curb on the inside. And yeah, on the final lap, he must have thought that the race was his. But by half a second in the end, Mark White able to get to the line. And that must have been so frustrating for Louis. Not only had he made the mistake, but of course he can't see what's coming round the corner. So he wanted, I'm sure, just to gun it and get going again. But the last thing he wanted to do was rejoin in the path of another car. And yeah, in the end, hesitated for half a second too long. What a truly remarkable turn of events.
It certainly was. It livened up the end of that race. That's for certain. Class winners David Russell, Phil England, Doug Inglis. I mean, that's a regular roll call of class winners. And Mark White as well. Reinstated. He was beaten for the first time earlier on today by Louis Woodward, but back to winning ways. All is restored to normality in the world of the Armed Forces Race Challenge. Cars are heading into Parc Fermé. The Armed Forces Race Challenge will continue. They have a couple more rounds of their championship to go. I think it's Snetterton for their next event. Let's have a look at the result though. Mark White, number 65, was the winner at the end of 16 laps by 0.546 seconds over number 87, Louis Woodward, in second place. Third place went the way of number 12, David Russell. Fourth, number 8, Phil England. In fifth position, number 1, Jonathan Candler. Sixth, number 7, Kieran Lambourne. Seventh to 113, Paul Chapman. And then that graphic is incorrect because 8th was number 22, Paul Mellon. 9th was number 26, Gareth Moss. 10th was number 6, Doug Inglis. 11th, number 48, Mike Nash. Then 12th, 96, Ben McLaughlin. Andrew Holmes and Luke Arpino completing the top 14. Clandestine winners there were White and Russell and England, and not Trevor Hancock, but in fact Dougie Inglis, number 6 in 10th place. And there you can see some other finishers further down the order. The Nexia ahead of the Peugeot in the battle that they were having. Richard Phillips, the best of the 116s. I think he's not an entrant in the Graduate Cup though, so I think the win in that went elsewhere. So that's the Armed Forces Race Challenge. We've enjoyed that. We have Kieran Mogg ready in Parc Fermé, and he will be speaking to our winning driver.
Thanks, guys. I don't really know where to start with that one. That's Mark White's the winner, so we'll go and chat with Mark White. So, Mark, if I could just jump in here a second. What a finish!
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. So, firstly, the commentators were talking about how you were dropping off during the race, and they did want me to ask you, were the tyres sort of overheating a little bit?
Yeah, there's a little bit of understeer from the middle of the race towards the end there. Haven't really had an opportunity to do much testing, but I made some changes. It was the same in race 1, made a few changes. It was definitely better, but it did creep in towards the middle, towards the end. Hey, we did all right, you know. I think it's a P1. I did overtake before the checkered flag. He was sideways across just in front of the line, so not really how I wanted to win it, but a win's a win, right?
It was half a second the gap between the two of you. You in front, yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, happy with that. Win's a win, right?
What a way to end the day.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Cheers,
now
buddy.
we'll speak to our next class winner. So David, another class win from 2 races. How was it out there?
It was all right. It felt a bit slower in race 2 for some reason. Whether it was just me, who knows? Couldn't get the same sort of pace going. Chalky and Louis were off in the distance, so it was just trying to go around the back markers without getting in their way. But yeah, it was a good race all in all.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on the class win anyway. It was pretty hectic out there.
I heard it was a really good finish as well. I heard
he crashed into the pit wall as he came around the last corner.
No way. Is he all right?
Yeah, he's okay. The car's a little bit crashed up on the front right.
All right, okay. Well, I'm sure Chalky will take it either way. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations. Cheers. So we'll next talk to Phil England, who is over there. So, Phil, another class win, and the only Class A car to be up with at the front towards the front boys anyway. How was it out there?
Yeah, it's good. Got a good start, so I was into second, and then overcooked at a rocket twice, and then I couldn't keep with the top 3. But yeah, it was all right. The car's performing well, so yeah, pleased.
Good. And one thing I do want to ask as well is obviously, because it's quite a technical circuit, and this is a 4-wheel drive car, and a lot of these guys are 2-wheel drive. Are you noticing a big difference in the way that they are handling corners compared to you?
Yeah, well, I think you can take some different lines. So when you're getting past some of the slower cars, you can, go up the inside or just square corners off. Or you can get away with a lot more.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on the class win anyway.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you very much. Anyway, we're going to a quick ad break, and then we've got one more race coming up. We'll see you in a second.
It's the K-Tech Racing Clio Sport Championship, their first of 3 races this weekend, and they're heading off onto their green flag lap. 15-minute race in prospect for these cars. There you can see the number 62 car of Max Martin just making his way off the grid for this green flag lap, just to check the track conditions and get some heat into the tyres that they use, which are the Toyo R888 control tyres for this. But let's have a look at how the grid lines up. On pole position, it is the number 55 car of Justin Griffiths. Number 30, Darren Ransom, is beside him. Second row is number 72, Pete O'Connor. 297 is Jan Whittaker, first time out in the ex-Jack Dwayne car. Third row, 14, Jack McConnell, and 12, Matt Hipkins. That's row 3. Row 4 of the grid is number 1, Chris Lawrence, number 10, Joshua North. Row 5, number 75, Greg Hill, and 7, Stephen Richardson. Row 6, 13, Mark Enoch, and 62, Max Martin, I should say. And number 7, row number 7 is 57, Matthew Poncia, and number 11, David Redshaw. So 14 cars we are scheduled to have on the grid for this race. A slightly depleted field with this being a long distance race for some of the drivers, of course, but should still see some very good racing in prospect. There's 2 different classes in the Clios. Class A for the Clio Sport 182s that were the bedrock of this championship originally. The Clio Sport 197-200s, the more modern cars, run in Class B, but they are at the front of the grid. They fill the front row of the grid, Justin Griffiths and Darren Ransom. Championship-wise, Class A is being led by Pete O'Connor. He has 97 points from Joshua North on 80 and David Redshaw 55. Class B for the 197s is Justin Griffiths from Chris Lawrence and Darren Ransom. That is the order of things. So Justin Griffiths on pole position here today. And of course, we're all wishing Chris Page a good recovery. He was involved in a very serious and nasty accident at Castle Combe about 6 weeks or so ago now, and sustained some quite severe injuries as a result of that. Was stuck in the car for a long time. We wish him well. But this Clio Sport race about to get underway here at Anglesey, and it's Justin Griffiths on pole position that makes the best of the starts there. Darren Ransom, who was on the outside of the front row of the grid, he might just about be pipped by Pete O'Connor. No, I think Ransom has held on to the position as they turn their way through the first couple of corners. Through the banking they go, and out towards Church Corner for the first time in this 15-minute race. Out through Church they go then. Great sight they make. Greg Hill there in the number 75 car, adding a bit of colour to it. Matthew Poncia there at number 57 is at the back of the field, but it's certainly as they were on the grid for the first 3 places. Jan Whittaker, in his first time out, he outbreaks himself, but not as much as the pole position man did. He's dropped back to 3rd, maybe 2nd place now, Justin Griffiths. He went straight on, more or less, up there at Rocket Corner. He's going to try and get back into the race. We've got an onboard view here with car number 72. This is Pete O'Connor, who is still in 3rd position and has now got Justin Griffiths just ahead of him.
Yeah, Justin Griffiths, who was very sideways through Peel Corner, and that sort of forced O'Connor really to lift off the throttle to avoid running straight into the back of him. Brilliant angle this for the camera, actually looking down, so you can really see the lines that the drivers are taking, picking up a little bit of understeer there, coming through the final part of the corkscrew. And then across the line at the end of lap 1. So Darren Ransom leads by just under a second from Justin Griffiths, who will be kicking himself for that mistake that he made up at Rocket Corner. Then you've got Peter O'Connor, the Class A leader, who's doing well, isn't he, in 3rd place overall, having, well, I suppose that's where he started, actually qualified in 3rd, didn't he? Then you've got the 297 of Jan Whittaker with Chris Lawrence behind. Chris Lawrence in that iconic yellow and blue livery. But the younger member of our commentary team today did have the audacity to say, was that not on a Nissan once? No, it wasn't. It was, of course, the factory Renault touring car and rallying livery back in the 90s, and Chris Lawrence driving it impeccably up into 4th place.
And for the record, I'm not the younger member of the commentary team. As if that needs explaining. Right, so we have that beautifully turned out car making up positions. We're back on board with Pete O'Connor. He was a winner in the much shortened race at Castle Combe, shortened because of the red flag, because of that incident that involved Chris Page. But he's in 3rd place here. Ransom leading. He's not done that very often, as far as I can remember, in Clio Sport Championship races, but he leads. Justin Griffiths is 2nd. Pete O'Connor is 3rd in the 182, but it really is, he's the exception to the rule, isn't he? Because it's 197s all around him, and the rest of the 182s are have all got themselves together towards the back half of the field here. So it does seem a circuit angle, so that is perhaps more well suited to the 197s than it is the 182s.
Yeah, that seems to be the case, doesn't it? Although Pete O'Connor, as we've said, is sort of taking the fight to them as best he can. He does now have Chris Lawrence putting the moves on him, though, taking a wide line into the banking, trying to get the better run down the hill towards Church Corner, but wasn't quite able to get alongside. But that 197 in fourth position looks as though it is on the attack. Again, look at them hooking that curb through Church Corner to help rotate the car. And Chris Lawrence now looking maybe to try and make a move under braking at the top of the hill. Nothing to choose between the two cars in a straight line, though, is there? Absolutely no difference in straight line performance. And that means that Peter O'Connor is able to stay in front, but he's got it all locked up. He can't get the car stopped. That was a pretty enormous brake lock-up, it must be said. It only cost him 2 places, but quite how he got the car stopped, I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, the tyres are probably 50 pence piece shape now, aren't they, after all of that? But he has continued. He's still ahead of most of the rest of the 182s. He's got several 197s behind him still. There's the race leader, Justin Griffiths then, back ahead of Darren Ransom. Ransom in second. Then third now is the iconically liveried car of number 1, Chris Lawrence, the reigning champion. He was in a 182 last year, switched up to the 197s this year. In fourth, it's number 297, Jan Whittaker. Pete O'Connor still in fifth, despite that big lock-up at Rocket on the previous lap. And he's ahead of Jack McConnell and Matt Hipkins, who complete the 197 entry.
Lock-up can't have done Peter O'Connor's tyres any good, though, you'd have to imagine. So you'll have to be wary of that now going into the big braking zones for the rest of the race. Only a 15-minute race, though, so it doesn't have to manage that situation for too long. Out through Church Corner they go. Lead gap out by a 1/10.5 on that previous lap to nearly 3/4 of a second now, as we ride back on board with the number 72 of Peter O'Connor, then heading towards the top of the hill where he had that big moment a lap ago. Gets the car stopped much more cleanly this time, turns into the apex, and manages also to keep Jack McDonnell and Matt Hipkins behind him. This actually ever-increasing queue of cars, which does now include his sort of first couple of Class A rivals, in particular Joshua North and Stephen Richardson. Numbers 10 and 7 at the back of that group. So Peter O'Connor needs to be careful here not to lose any more places, otherwise his class lead could be in jeopardy.
Chris Lawrence was enjoying a clear view in front of him there. He's got Darren Ransom right behind him, though, so he can't really relax and enjoy the view as things stand. Darren Ransom with the checkered flag livery on his roof. They're quite a way clear of Chris Lawrence now in third position. Now, Pete O'Connor still leading, as we've said, in the 182s, and that is all important because points are scored within the classes rather than based on overall finishing position. So it doesn't matter whether Pete O'Connor finishes 5th on the road or 1st on the road. If he wins the class, he still will pick up maximum points within that division, which will count towards the championship. And he was 17 points ahead in his class. Justin Griffiths was only 7 points ahead in his class, but the gap between them overall was 5 points in favour of Pete O'Connor. So he's still going strongly here, and obviously Griffiths is also leading his class, so pretty much honours even between the two of them at this stage. Up the hill they go once more towards Rocket, getting up towards the halfway point in this race. That's the number 12 car of Matt Hipkins, trying to find a way around the outside of Jack McConnell, but they've now got the 182s for very close company, Joshua North and Stephen Richardson. They do seem to be getting closer, if anything, to Pete O'Connor, and O'Connor's now got another 197 ahead of him potentially, because Jack McConnell has squeezed his way through on the inside there, which is giving him less of a buffer back to the other cars within his class.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point I was making. He's got to be careful here if he lets too many of the 197s through, as much as he doesn't need to fight them for class points. He doesn't really want to fall back into the clutches of Joshua North, does he? The lead gap, by the way, crept down on the previous lap, then went back up again to 3/4 of a second. So Justin Griffiths responding to the pressure from Darren Ransom, which was starting to build. Personal best lap, meanwhile, for Chris Lawrence in third position, a 22.6, so slightly quicker than Ransom, a 10th quicker than Ransom, but I doubt has enough time realistically to catch those leading two. So the big battle is this one going on further back. And there you can see the situation. Peter O'Connor has got Matt Hipkins in the blue number 12 car behind him. And then the next car, the similarly liveried car to his own of Joshua North, that is his nearest 182 rival, Class A rival. And I reckon if there's a move to be had here for Matt Hipkins at Rocket, this could very much bring these two together. Is Hipkins close enough? No, not quite. So for now, Peter O'Connor hanging on, but his class lead certainly not all that secure.
No, not at all. As we watch them make their way through, up towards the right hand they go. There is the number 12 car right behind him. So that's Matt Hipkins. There's the last sort of barrier between himself and Joshua North, who's having a pretty strong race here. Is Joshua. He does lie second in the 182 part of the championship coming into this weekend. Joshua, who is 33 years of age from Shrewsbury, so I guess this is one of his most local circuits by that measure. Watching the cars start another lap then. There is the number 13 car of Mark Enoch, the 27-year-old from Cheltenham, works in furniture retail, only in his second season of racing, done some karting in the past, but he's doing battle with number 7, which is Steve Richardson. Very close battle as well, and he manages to get ahead of Richardson now, the window cleaner from Milton Keynes. And a change there, so it's up into third place within that class now, as we're watching number 12, Hipkins.
It was fairly robust, wasn't it, really? Richardson getting elbowed out wide. But yes, Hipkins will now try and make a slightly cleaner move, maybe, on Peter O'Connor up the hill. O'Connor, again, just covers the inside line. The middle of the road, really, stops Hipkins from nipping up the inside. And so as they head through Rocket, still the order remains the same. O'Connor 6th, Hipkins 7th, North 8th. But it's the 6th and 8th place cars that are battling for a class lead here. So too, by the way, are Justin Griffiths and Darren Ransom. That gap came back down again by a couple of tenths on the previous lap, and I think it's come down by even more this time around. They're coming through the corkscrew now, and those leading two outright and within Class B are closer together than they have been. Unfortunately, in the barrier, though, is David Redshaw. David Redshaw off the road somewhere. Up at Church Corner, and he's got into the barriers pretty heavily there. Lots of damage done, and he is very much out of the race.
Yeah, so that's a great shame for David Redshaw, third in the 182 Championship coming into this weekend, but he's crashed out there at Church Corner, one of the fastest parts of the circuit, really. Certainly the corner that probably requires the most commitment of anywhere on the lap. The leaders are just going through that part of the circuit now. Justin Griffiths and Darren Ransom, of course, there's yellow flags out there, and they pass the green flag now as they head off up towards Rocket Corner with 4.5 minutes of the race left to go. So Justin Griffiths here, number 55, is still in the lead from Darren Ransom. And so far this season, Griffiths has had 2 wins, a win each at Brands Hatch and at Castle Combe, in both overall and in Class A, Class B, I should say, as well. We're on board with him now. As you can see, he's got a clear track in front of him at the moment, but he's got Darren Ransom half a second behind him at the start of the lap. There we go. Watching them drop down now towards the corkscrew, but we're watching this battle with Pete O'Connor and Josh North, his teammate, looking at the livery on the 2 cars there, but they do have that Matt Hipkins 197 between them, and I think Pete O'Connor's going to be very keen to keep it that way.
Yes, Joshua North will be cheering Matt Hipkins on here. If Matt makes a move, that could even open the door for Joshua North to actually attack straight away. And certainly if he goes through, then it will close those 2 class leaders together. You've also got the 3rd placed Class A car there as well, haven't you? Mark Enoch in the number 13. They head through Target Corner. The outright race leaders only 0.4 of a second apart now. They're absolutely nose to tail, actually, as they head through Church Corner. So the lead battle suddenly starting to burst into life with 3.5 minutes to go. Off screen, this is happening. Here they are, Darren Ransom, well within slipstreaming range of Justin Griffiths now as they head towards Rocket Corner. So for the first time this race, Justin might have some defending to do here. Interestingly, only moves to the middle of the road just in the braking zone. Didn't want to commit to the inside line if he didn't have to, but realised that Darren Ransom was just about close enough to give him some trouble.
Yeah, so he's hustling on, is Justin Griffiths in the lead of this race, but Darren Ransom is not too far behind. He is giving Justin Griffiths a thorough workout here. Ransom 3rd in the 197 part of the championship coming into this weekend. His best result so far has been a 2nd place. He's had a 3rd as well, so looking for his first win of the season. Dropping down through the corkscrew there. They're quite a long way clear of Chris Lawrence, and Jan Whittaker going very well on his first time out in the number 297 car in 4th position, but probably a couple of laps to go, I would think, for these cars now. As they head off up to the banking, it's still Griffiths from Ransom, and the gap is less than 0.6 of a second.
Yes, it is. Out of the banking again then towards Church Corner. Not quite as close maybe this time as Darren Ransom, I would say, but he'll try and set himself up nonetheless with a good run through Church. The yellow flag's in now at Church, by the way. Everybody, of course, fully aware of that car that's off at the side of the road, so no need to keep the yellows out for any longer. And so Darren Ransom and Justin Griffiths can continue at full speed through there, but it's not doing Ransom any good. He just can't get close enough. These cars always have been very good on the brakes and very evenly matched on the brakes as well, as you'd expect. So not easy to get a big advantage over your opponent into a braking zone. And these two clearly capable of lapping within not very much of each other. There was only a 1/10 of a second between them in qualifying, and that always sort of suggested, didn't it, that whoever got into the first corner first at the start of the race would hold an advantage. But with a lap to go at the end of this one, Ransom hasn't given up and has proven that he's capable of getting close enough so far in this race. Will he commit to a move, though? That's the question.
Yeah, time will tell, I suspect. Down they go. We've got a lap to go then. Last lap board goes out to Justin Griffiths and Darren Ransom. The gap just under 7/10 of a second this time. Griffiths pulled away by a 1/10 or so. That lap still absolutely furious battle going on further down the order. And Pete O'Connor has lost the position now to Matt Hepkins, so he is within striking distance of his teammate. The two DUS liveried cars together there. And Joshua North, number 10, is he going to spring a late surprise and get the Class A win away from Pete O'Connor? So there's still jeopardy in both classes here, Andy.
Well, this will be interesting. It's the first time these two have been together in this race. Is Joshua North going to be quick enough where it counts, which is through this next corner and on the run up the hill? At the top of that hill are the overall race leaders. No change there. Still Justin Griffiths ahead of Darren Ransom. And from the window, I can tell you there's not likely to be a change, at least immediately anyway, within Class A. So I think that's likely going to stay how it was. Yes, it looks like it will. There they are, look, going into Rocket. Joshua North actually more concerned with defending from Mark Aynott behind him than he was having a go at Peter O'Connor. So the Class A battle, I doubt we're going to see a change. I also would be very surprised to see Darren Ransom make a big do-or-die lunge here on Justin Griffiths, who has managed this race well.
He has indeed. Down through the corkscrew he comes for the final time. Out of it he comes. Checkered flag is waiting, no mistakes from him, and he takes the checkered flag. Justin Griffiths wins the first of 3 races this weekend for the K-Tech Racing Clio Sport Championship by half a second from Darren Ransom. Chris Lawrence is third in the 182s. It is going to be Pete O'Connor up across the line now, and he just about holds on to take the win. He was much further up the overall order earlier, but he's gradually slipped back down, and in the end won the class by about 3/4 of a second. So that's pretty much everyone across the line already. Just a couple of cars yet to come through. That's how closely matched the cars are in the K-Tech Racing Clio Sport Series. The first 11 cars at the end of 15 laps separated by only 17 seconds. That tells you just how evenly matched they are. We had just the one retirement. That was David Redshaw going off into the wall, the tyre wall at Church Corner. So his car will need to be recovered, but 13 cars made it to the checkered flag. In this order, Justin Griffiths, number 55, the winner at the end of 11 laps by 0.516 seconds over number 30, Darren Ransom in second place. In third position was number 1, Chris Lawrence, fourth to number 297, Jan Whittaker, fifth to number 14, Jack McConnell, sixth to number 12, Matt Hipkins. Those were all the 197s. The 182s, they were won by, in seventh place overall, number 72, Pete O'Connor. Number 10, Joshua North was second, 8th overall. Third was number 13, Mark Aynott, 9th overall. And Stephen Richardson, number 7, completed the top 10 ahead of Greg Hill, Max Martin and Matthew Poncia. So that was the first Clio race. There's 2 more of those to come tomorrow, 1 in the morning, and 1 will be our last race of the weekend before we head home tomorrow afternoon. So we've got cars, we'll be shortly heading into Parc Fermé to celebrate their success. Have a word, I'm sure, with Kieran Mogg as well. Be good to hear from Griffiths, and I think we'll probably hear from Pete O'Connor as well when they get back into Parc Fermé. And although it's already gone 7 o'clock, we still have 1 more race to go here at Anglesey this evening, and that is going to be for the 116 Sprint Trophy and the 120 Coupe Cup. We'll have more of that shortly, but first let's head down to Kieran Mogg.
Well, what an amazing race we have there. So we've got our top 3 of the A class here, and we've got our B class winner, number 72, just behind there. So we're going to speak to our class winners. First of all, class winner and also overall winner is Justin Griffiths. If I could just step in here, Justin, fantastic race. So you had some pressure at the end, but you managed to hold off.
Yeah, he was putting me under pressure all the way, Darren. Cracking driver. It was so close. I just felt under pressure the whole way, and yeah, fortunately came out on top. He made the same silly error that I did going up the hill. So yeah, it was a cracking race. Nice to have a bit of pressure.
Yeah, definitely. And do you reckon you're going to try and change something for tomorrow, or do you reckon the car's kind of as good as it can be?
I think it's pretty much there. If I had a new set of tyres, I'd probably put them on, but I don't, so you got to run with what I got.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on the win.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, thank you. I'm going to please speak to our second place man, Darren Ransom. Darren, you were so close. It's a fantastic race between the two of you.
Took the lead on the second lap, I just hit the brakes and there was none. It was maybe run right. Just did the same thing on the lap before. But yeah, he's so good. He's so hard to overtake. But I really enjoyed that. It was really good. Car was good. Ran out of tyres towards the end, but good. Happy with that.
Fantastic. And do you reckon you could take the fight to him tomorrow?
I'm going to try my very best. I need to take one off him. He took one off me at Brand, so I need to take one off him.
Absolutely. Well, I look forward to seeing that then.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Cheers, thank you very much. Right, we're going to, I think we've got a bit of time because the 116s are still here. So we'll walk over here and just have a chat with Chris Lawrence. Chris, fantastic race there, 3rd position. Do you reckon you can close the gap to them tomorrow?
That's the plan. I mean, qualifying didn't go to plan this morning. I knew how to do it on the 1st or 2nd lap then, but I could see it all kicking off in front, but I just couldn't get in a rhythm. Even towards the end, I just kept messing up at the top. So yeah, not a great day, but it was podium at the end of the day, so I'm happy with that.
Absolutely. Do you reckon you're going to go back to the base tonight and just think it over, maybe make some changes for the car?
Yeah, for sure. We haven't been here since 21. First time here in a 197, so there's always something to play with. We tweaked it from this morning. I think 50% of it's me, to be honest, but we'll try our best tomorrow.
Absolutely. We'll look forward to seeing that then.
Cheers, thank you.
Thank you very much. And we'll just pass straight past you a second, and we'll speak to our class winner, Peter O'Connor. Peter, you had some fight there.
Well, that was a bit of a tough one. I thought I had the pace at the front, but then when Chris came behind, I braked too late and I just kept my foot on the clutch, and basically I squared the front left off. So then for the rest of the race, it was just juddering, and I was just holding on really. So I managed to hold on at the end. So yeah, good race all in all. Yeah. So.
Do you reckon, bar the flat spotted tyre, you reckon got the pace for it tomorrow?
Yeah. In the theoretical, well, if you could ever do that, was a 21.6. So I think new set of fronts, and we'll go again. Just a quick shout out to Chris Page. He had a big shunt at Coombs, so hope he's on the mend. We're all thinking of him. Okay.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on the class win.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Thank you very much. Anyway, we're going to a quick break, but as you can see, coming up next are the 116s. It's the last race of the day, and these guys, they always put on a show. We'll see you in a second.
cars heading to the grid for the final race of the first of 2 days of racing this weekend, organised by the 750 Motor Club at Anglesey. It's the 116 Sprint Trophy and the 120 Coupe Cup, and a big grid of cars that we had. In race 1 earlier on today, everyone that started made it to the end, so we should have a big grid here for race number 2. Of course, we've got the 120 Coupe cars, and we've got the 116 Trophy specification cars. The 120 is a bit more power, a little bit quicker around this Anglesey circuit. Let's see how they're going to line up this time around. Pole position has gone the way of number 5, Anthony Seddon. Besides him is number 59, Rob Carvell. Then the second row of the grid, it's 173 Matt Priestwood and treble 5 Matt Highcock. Third row of the grid is 187 George Healer and 151 Peter Keane. Row 4 is 10 Lewis White and Turner and 209 William Abraham. Row 5, 25 Ethan Hall and 21 Harry Ormerod. Row 6, 48 Daniel Scott and 101 Ben Wilshire. On the 7th row of the grid, it's 89 Freddie Tatham and 86 Pete Brand. Row 8, 71 Jack Godden and 47 Ayrton Redfern. Then on row 9, it's 220 Simon Fox and 888 Dave Hudson. Row 10 is 121, which is Luke Fox and Toby O'Reilly, number 34. Row 11, 186 Carl Petters and 82 James Callan. Row 12 is 43 Victoria Babb and 232 Simon Walton. Row 13, 8 John Turner and 55 Lewis Charlton with number 30 Harry Miles at the back. And the green flag is about to be waved to get the cars off on the green flag lap. So we've got 2 of the 120s on the front of the grid, and then we've got 3 more spread throughout the field. And as we saw in the first race, they managed to fill places 1, 2, 3, 4 and 7 by the end. Let's see if they can even improve on that this time around. The car at the back is the 55 car. That's the last of the cars out there. That's the car of Lewis Charlton, who came through to 7th in race 1. There he is. But of course it was a good battle for the victory. Anthony Seddon eventually getting the better of Rob Carvell, and also had a good scrap for victory in the 116 Sprint Trophy part of it as well, because Matthew Highcock took his first victory over the season over Matt Priestwood, with Peter Keane third within that class in the first race of the day a little bit earlier on. Of course, many of these drivers will be out again tomorrow for the 90-minute race for the 116 Trophy, and a last chance for some sprint race action before then. It's a 15-minute race. In the earlier race, that equated to 11 laps, so we'll see how many laps they get out of it this time. But Andy McEwen, it promises to be an entertaining way to conclude the first day's racing at Anglesey.
I think so, yeah. I've never really seen a dull race from the 116 Trophy, although I think this might be my first time seeing the sprint format. I think almost every other time I've seen them, it's just been the endurance race. Really looking forward to that tomorrow. I like the strategic element that gets thrown into that with the 2 pit stops that they have to do, and as we saw in Alton Park, that can certainly lead to a slightly jumbled order by the end. But these sprint races give the drivers an opportunity to really have the best of both worlds. You know, some drivers enjoy sprint racing a lot more than endurance racing, but this gives them the chance to sample too. So yeah, should be a good race this. I think Anthony Seddon and Rob Carvell, they'll both be very aware of the importance of getting into that first corner first. That's very much what we saw sort of decide the race really earlier on this afternoon. Within the 116s though, Matt Highcock, Matt Priestwood, there wasn't really a lot to choose between them, or Lewis Charlton actually in the earlier race, so expect a good 3-way fight between those 3.
Yeah, so they're lining up on the grid now. We've got Anthony Seddon just trying to reposition himself beneath us because he'd lined up slightly out of slot. But no, should be in for a good race, both among the 120s and the 116s. 2 talented young drivers at the front of that in the form of Matt Priestwood and Matthew Highcock. Of course, it's Priestwood ahead in the championship. Highcock was 3rd in the championship behind Will Abraham. Coming into this weekend, Abraham was a bit further down the order. He was, I think, 6th in class in the first race. 5-second board is shown then, and the final race of the day here at Anglesey about to get underway. Red lights go on, they go out, and away they go. Even start from the 2 at the front, but it might be Rob Carvell that's just got his nose in front as they turn into target. It's Matt Priestwood ahead in the 116s, just ahead of Matthew Highcock. It certainly is, though, the blue car of Rob Carvel that leads the 120 coupe part of the race as they turn their way through the banking for the first time. And there's Priestwood just ahead of Highcock. And you've got some of the 120s trying to come through as well from relatively lowly qualifying positions, as was the case in race number 1. But the two leaders, as I can see from our commentary box window, side by side, here they are, heading up towards Rocket Corner. And it's Anthony Seddon that's got in front. Can he keep it there all the way up to the braking area at Rocket? It looks like he probably can do. Meanwhile, Matt Priestwood is ahead. He's got the George Healer car just behind him. But a little bit of a sort-out going on there. The top two here, though, certainly, Andy, getting away. And it's Rob Carvel that's got back through into the lead ahead of Anthony Seddon.
Yeah, Seddon outbraked himself, so had that run up the hill, but perhaps arrived at Rocket Corner a little bit faster than he was expecting. Couldn't get the car stopped, and back through went Carvel. So that's already 2 lead changes on the opening lap between the two of them, and Carvel ending up back out in front, side by side then for 3rd position. And Matt Priestwood needs to be careful here because he's battling with George Healer, who of course isn't really in the same class as him, but the 2 cars behind very much are. And actually that is Highcock being levered aside, coming out of the final corner, in danger of losing 2nd place within the 116s. That's the 209 car of Will Abraham up the inside. Abraham was only 11th in the first race, but running up there now fighting for a class podium. Slots back in behind Highcock for the time being, but that's just given Matt Priestwood a little bit of a margin. There's a car off though, and that is 21. Harry Ormerod, who's gone off, and he's lost it, I think, coming out of turn 1 and ended up nearly on the exit of turn 2.
Yeah, we've seen that happen before, haven't we? But he's getting back onto the circuit, is he now? Slowly but surely. Anyway, Will Abraham there, he was won both of the races at Silverstone, so he's certainly a quick pilot, and he's got a bit close towards the sharp end this time. Ethan Hall, he was pretty strong in race 1. He's got Lewis White and Turner doing battle with him this time. Just in behind Peter Keane as well in the 151 car. He was on the podium a little bit earlier on as well. So lots of quality in this 116 Sprint Trophy lineup. Turning their way out of Peel Corner down towards the corkscrew. They will go for the 2nd time in this race. Of course, the 2 leaders, Carvel and Seddon, already putting out quite a bit of a gap, but George Healer up to 3rd place. Of course, he's escaped now from the Priestwood and Highcock battle and is sort of 2 seconds clear of them, but about 4 seconds behind the leaders. And Abraham in 6th place overall, 3rd within the 116s, just ahead of Peter Keane and Ethan Hall, and Lewis White and Turner in the red car.
Up through the banking again then, so the Priestwood and Highcock battle, I think, could be the battle to focus on, although actually the overall race leaders are absolutely nose to tail again. Going through Church Corner, Anthony Seddon's had a good run off Church and is up alongside Carvel again for the race lead. Here he comes, he's got to the inside line. That came out of nowhere. He was about 4 lengths back going into Church, but just carried so much more speed through the corner. He's got the inside line into Rocket. Now, we've been here before, Anthony. Can you get the car stopped this time? The answer is very much a yes, and he goes back through into the lead, and this time makes it stick. But that all came from just a much supreme run through Church Corner.
Yeah, he's had that a couple of times now, hasn't he? And this time he was able to convert that into the lead of the race, which he was unable to do a little bit earlier on today. Well, earlier on in the race, I should say. On board we go with the 55 car, which is the car that's been making its way up through the field a little bit. That is the car that came through into 7th place in race 1, Lewis Charlton. Let's see how high up the order he can get in race 2. He's 17th at the moment, so still got some way to go. Here are the 2 leaders then. Seddon, who's just done the best lap of the race on that lap as well, and Rob Carvel. George Healer on his own in 3rd, and then the 116's nose to tail. They've got the banking, a challenge on from Rob Carvel. They were overlapping there briefly. Carvel tried to get through on the inside, but couldn't make it work, and it's possibly compromised his exit a little bit.
Yeah, very much so, but felt that it was worth the risk, obviously. If he'd have got the overlap, then he could have run side by side with Seddon into Church Corner. That didn't happen in the end. Here, meanwhile, is the 116 lead battle, and they are even closer together. Matthew Highcock on the tail of Mac Priestwood as they turn through Church Corner. Slightly tighter line there from Highcock. Just again rides that curb on the inside line to help the car turn, and then tries to tuck into the slipstream. You don't seem to get a huge amount of slipstream in these cars. the shape of them, you would expect them to give a decent little slipstream, but they're not really going quickly enough, I don't think, to generate one. Anyway, it's still close racing nonetheless, and a mistake there from Matt Priestwood. He runs out wide. Highcock up alongside, that's the outside line into Rocket out. Cuts back to the late apex, tries to get the inside line for Peel Corner. Is Matt Priestwood going to be able to close the door? The answer is yes. And anyway, the move couldn't have happened anyway because there's a yellow flag out going into Peel because of a car stuck at the side of the road.
Yeah, which is... It's not Harry Ormrod car, is it? Because that's the car that's off at Church. We'll try and figure out who that is.
888, perhaps?
Dave Hudson, possibly. Yeah, could be, couldn't it? Yeah, there we are. There's the confirmation of that. The car is due to share. Oh, look, it's got a camera on it. Wouldn't you know? It's the car is due to share with Nigel Greensall tomorrow in the endurance race. So the battle going on. We've had a change, haven't we? Matthew Highcock now ahead of Matt Priestwood in the 116 part of the race. Will Abraham not too far behind them. Then Peter Keane and Ethan Hall. They are, what, 12, 13 seconds behind the overall leader, Anthony Seddon, who in turn is putting a bit more daylight between himself and Rob Carvell. There's only a quarter of a second between them at the start of the lap, but again, it's been a good run out of Church, in particular for Seddon, and he's been able to eke out a bit more of a gap. There's the 116 lead battle. As you can see, it's now Highcock ahead, and he's looking to hopefully take his second victory of the season here.
Yeah, but Matt Priestwood has something to say about that, doesn't he? I'd be intrigued to know where the lead changed, because Priestwood was ahead when we last saw them at Peel, and then had lost the position by the time they got to the line. So that must have been something that happened through the corkscrew section. There is the car still stuck at the side of the road there. It's not exactly a dangerous position because it's not on the outside or the exit of a corner, but covering it under yellow flags for the time being means no overtaking into that part of the track. And that means that for now, Matthew Highcock is safe in the class lead. Anthony Seddon, meanwhile, now with only just under 0.4 of a second in hand over Rob Carvell, whilst George Heeler in third place sets the fastest lap, a 1:23.229. So still about half a second or so away from anything that they were doing in race one. Meanwhile, side by side for the race lead as they head towards Church.
Yeah, they do indeed, and it's Seddon getting back ahead of Carvell. Now we know Seddon's quick through Church Corner, and he maintains the lead from Carvell here. And is he going to be able to pull out an advantage as they head up towards Rocket? And it looks like he is again. He's able to eke out a gap from Rob Carvell as they now start the real climb up towards Rocket Corner. But it's a very close fight between these two. It has been all race long, turning their way through. A bit deep into the corner went Anthony Seddon, so it's a bit tight on the entrance to the second part of the complex, but he does hold on, does Anthony Seddon. For the lead of the race. So down to the right-hander they come at the corkscrew. Anthony Seddon leading, Rob Carvell in second place as they make their way into the right-hander, into the banking they go once again. So it's Anthony Seddon, number 5 that leads, and 59 Rob Carvell is in second place, but they've now got George Heeler bearing down on them. He's done the best lap of the race. The gap down to 2.5 seconds between second and third position, so these two can't afford to be complacent here about their lead of this race. Matthew Highcock, meanwhile, is still leading in the 116s by 0.6 of a second from Matt Priestwood. They have now got about a 2.5 second advantage over Will Abraham in third position within that class. So it looks like it's going to be between them for the victory, as it is between these two in the 120s. And Rob Carvell got quite close to the back of Anthony Seddon this time, but unlike you, Andy, he just couldn't quite pull it off.
Indeed so. So Seddon hanging on to the lead for now then. 0.3 of a second was his margin at the start of the lap. The point I was about to make about a lap and a half ago is that George Heeler is catching them at quite a rate of knots, isn't he? Had that fastest lap a couple of laps ago, then took another 1.1 seconds out of them on the previous lap. So if these two really do stop battling, then we could have 3 of them for the lead. 5.25 minutes to go. And George Heeler really pushing on, actually. You can see the body language of that car, well, at least I could anyway, looking out of the window, really wriggling around out of the final turn, although he has now lost that fastest lap to Anthony Seddon. So these three all sort of spurring each other on.
And Lewis Charlton on the inset there, you can see he's up inside the top 10 now. We've got to 7th place in the early race. Victoria Babbs also made progress in this race. She's up to 9th position, just ahead, although it looks like he's a 1:16 now ahead. So he's possibly got ahead of her now. Or possibly Victoria. Yeah, Victoria's actually come through to 6th place, so she's made up some more ground. So she's made up a couple of places on the previous lap, I reckon. Relatively inexperienced driver. 4.5 minutes of the race to go. Seddon's got more of an advantage this time, it would seem, over Rob Carvel. And they go into the first part of Rocket Corner. I can see someone's getting a driving standards flag out of our commentary box window. Try and figure out who that is.
Can't quite see from here.
Can't quite see the number.
Nothing on the timing screen either, so not sure who that is. Just a warning though for now, isn't it? No penalty being dished out. Bit of side-by-side action heading up the hill here, involving the number 55 car, which is one of those 120s trying to wriggle its way through on the outside line, and doing so. Lewis Charlton inside the top 10 now, so putting together a decent second half of the race then. And look at him gripping the steering wheel there, really wrestling the car out of Rocket. I think that yellow flag's gone in now as well, hasn't it, on the way into Peel Corner, so they can run side by side through here if they wish, as Anthony Seddon sets another new fastest lap out in front. Pretty relentless pace at the head of the field, and he is now 3/4 of a second clear of Rob Carvel in second. George Heeler's charge sort of fading a little bit now, only a 10th quicker than Carvel that time around.
There on screen, for those of you watching the live stream, you can see Victoria Babbs made up 17 places in this race so far. And now Lewis Charlton betters that because he's made up 19 places to go up to 7th place overall. So 120 to 1, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 6th and 7th at the moment. They were 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 7th in the early race. There's still 3 minutes to go though, so can they make up some more outright track position here before the end of the race? Certainly now, I think that's Victoria Babbs got herself between Matthew Highcock, here she is, number 43, and Matt Priestwood. So the two 116 trophy leaders now separated.
Yes, they are. So Matt Priestwood could actually do well, I think, to just sort of tag along with Victoria Babb here, and maybe when she makes a move on Matt Highcock, try and take advantage of that. She closes in heading into Rocket. And that's just going to bring this group of cars all together. So the two 116s fighting for class position, but still sharing the track with the 120s. And that can obviously have a bearing on their own individual class battle as well. Leaders go through to start what will be the penultimate lap of the race, and they are separated now by just under 0.8 of a second. The real battle, though, I suspect, is the one that's about to break out, involving the 116 class leaders. When and where and how Victoria Babb makes her move on Matthew Highcock could prove crucial in the outcome of Highcock and Priestwood's battle.
Got a battle going on further down the order here. It involves the likes of the 232 car, which is Walton. 82, James Cannon is in there as well. They get their way through Rocket Corner. Also involved is the 30 car of Harry Miles as well. It was the last car to start this race. So really good battle, even right at the very back of the field. Minute 44 to go in this race. We're coming up towards the conclusion of it. There is Highcock being passed now by Victoria Babb. So what's the gap going to be between Highcock and Matt Priestwood? It's fairly significant.
Yeah, that was a good place to be overtaken for Highcock, really, wasn't it? On the run out of the banking, didn't lose him any time, and Victoria should now be able to scoot away from him heading up the hill as well. The 120 is a little bit more powerful, aren't they? They carry a bit more straight line speed, and that means that she's not holding him up now as they head up through Rocket. Now behind them, though, this battle's still yet to be resolved. Will Abraham defending here from a very late on the brakes Peter Keane, who stays just within track limits but ultimately doesn't gain the position. This, of course, is for 3rd place in class between Abraham 209, Keane 151 and Ethan Hall in the number 25.
Yeah, so a big battle going on for the minor places within the 116 trophy. Abraham looking to keep hold of that final podium position, but Peter Keane keen to take it away from him. Only 40 seconds left to go in this race. We've got the 116 leaders there just coming over the line now, Highcock and Priestwood. And there in the background you can see Will Abraham. He's just turning into turn 1 now, ahead of Peter Keane and Ethan Hall. There's the 116 trophy leader, and there is our outright leader, Anthony Seddon. 6/10 was his advantage at the start of the lap, but that looks to have possibly gone out by a smidge. up into Rocket then for the final time.
Yeah, out of Rocket towards Peel Corner. I'm not going to say he's got this in the bag because we've seen already today that strange things can happen before the checkered flag, but barring a mistake, you'd have to say Anthony Seddon looks good here. Rob Carvel not close enough to attack as they come down the hill. It's been a good battle between these two though, definitely. Much more competitive race this than the one earlier on this morning, which was close, but ultimately never really looked like Seddon was going to lose the lead. Here though, he's had to really fight for it.
Yeah, and he's only just going to do it if he does it at all, because Rob Carvel right on his tail towards the end of the race. The gap is smaller since it's been all race. Anthony Seddon wins by 0.166 seconds. Number 5 from number 59, Rob Carvel. George Healer 187 in third. And who is going to win the 116 trophy part of the race? It should be Matthew Highcock. He's quite comfortably ahead at the moment. Here he is coming through now. There is Matt Priestwood in second place. So there's Victoria Babb. She takes fourth. Matthew Highcock, another win for him then, 2 today in the 116 trophy sprint or sprint trophy. Matt Priestwood second in that class. Lewis Charlton 7th overall, and third in the 116s is going to go to the way of Will Abraham. He holds off Peter Keane over the line. Yeah, that was a good battle as well, wasn't it, for that third position. Will Abraham hanging on, and Peter Keane, unfortunately, having to settle for 4th place in the class. Ooh, still some good battles going on here, though. Further back, a couple of the walking wounded, this is, I think, who have had some dramas earlier on in the race. Certainly the car that was making a move there, the number 48, has a little bit of damage, but that doesn't stop the 48 car from gaining the place. And yeah, that was right through the final couple of corners. What were they fighting over? 17th place, wasn't it? Scott moving up into 17th. Daniel Scott, that was exactly the same position, actually, that he finished in race 1. Indeed. So, final few cars coming to take the checkered flag here at Anglesey Circuit. I mean, Jack Godden is someone I expect to see a bit further up the order, but I think they have had some issues with that car this season. But he's usually been quick, but yep, he's not quite been living up to his own potential this season. He comes across the line in 21st position, a minute and 24 seconds behind the winner. But I think they're all home now at the end of that 116 Sprint Trophy 120 Coupe Cup race. So let's take a look at the results for the final time today. It was a win for number 5, Anthony Seddon, at the end of 11 laps of racing by 0.166 seconds over Rob Carvel, number 59 in second place, George Healer 187 third, Victoria Babb 43 in 4th place. And as far as the 120 was considered, exactly the same as race 1. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 7th, because Lewis Charlton, number 55, was 7th behind the 116 Sprint Trophy. First 2, 173 Matt Priestwood. 555 Matthew Highcock and 173 Matt Priestwood. Will Abraham 209 was 3rd within that class. Peter Keane and Ethan Hall round out the top 10. Then it was Lewis White and Turner, Freddie Tatham, Pete Brand and Ben Wilshire. And a bit further back down the order, we saw in 15th position Toby O'Reilly, then Simon Fox, Daniel Scott, Luke Fox, Ayrton Redfern and Simon Walton completing the first 20 finishers. And that brings to an end the day's racing here at Anglesey Circuit. Tomorrow morning, qualifying is underway at 9 o'clock. We'll have our first race at 9:30. The Alpha Live stream will be on air probably around about 9:25 to accommodate that then. And we've got 10 more races tomorrow, 6 before lunch and 4 afterwards. We've got the Gaz Shocks 116 Trophy 90-minute race as the centrepiece of the day just after the lunch break. We've also got Sports 1000 featuring Cup 200, the Type R Trophy, Mini Melia, Mini 7, Clios, and Mazda 7 as well. So thanks to Andy McEwen here with me in the commentary box, but from me, Ian Simon and Andy McEwen, we'll hand down now to the capable hands of Kieran Mogg to see you home. Good night from us.
Well, that was one hell of a finish, and we have had a few one hell of a finishes today. But the last winner of the day, Anthony, that was absolutely fantastic. It was really, really close on the line.
Yeah. Well, he had a massive lunge on me, but I was just being careful and neat and tidy, and what a great race. Always at me. Always biting at me. Fantastic race. And you guys, I think I had to get past him twice in the end.
You guys clearly haven't finished sorting out your differences yet, so we've got tomorrow still to come.
Yeah, I don't think he's in the race, unfortunately, tomorrow. I mean, shame, really, that the 120s aren't doing endurance racing as well, because they do it all day long.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on the win.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And right, we're going to just head back a bit because we've got Matthew Highcock to talk to. Lewis Charlton, there he is. He had a fantastic race, up 19 spots, I believe it is. But right, where is Matthew? Right, we had this problem earlier. There he is. Right, I spotted him. and tried to run away from me earlier, but 2 from 2. Congratulations. You're talking to me now. How was it?
It was good, yeah. Hard work as always, but yeah, decent. The car's been mega this weekend, like, sorted a few things out, and yeah, it was comfortable, quite easy actually. Like,
It seems this year that you and Matt just can't get away from each other.
no, he's really quick, you know. It's just me and him all the time at the moment, but I'm not surprised, like, you know, he is fast.
Obviously, you had 2 races today and you got 2 from 2, so surely that's putting you in good standings now for the championship. Now you've got those 2 wins under your belt, back up there with them.
Yeah, dead happy. Well, till today I haven't won a sprint yet, so yeah, dead over the moon with it, like, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations then on the win.
Thank you, mate.
Cheers, thank you very much. Anyway, well, that about rounds it up, really. We've had a fantastic day of racing. Obviously, the 116s and the 120s never fail to deliver. And we've had, I mean, if you talk about the Armed Forces, you talk about the Civics, you talk about any of them, really, they've been absolutely fantastic. And also, can I just say, Anglesey weather, it has been fantastic. We don't always get this in Anglesey. It can be a little bit hit and miss, really. But it has been stunning. It's been lovely and warm. There's been a bit of wind there, but really, it's been absolutely fantastic. And we've only done half of it, really. If we just head down here a second, we've only actually done half of the racing. We've still got all of tomorrow to sort it out. Some of the series have sorted out their differences today. Some of them have got tomorrow to sort it out. So we'll find out tomorrow who gets the number 1. See you tomorrow.